I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I will allow maybe a minute or so. I think there's a few people walking up. So if we'll give them about a minute, if everybody, this would be a good time for me to say with this size of a group, and thank you people for deciding to come out and be involved. But with this size of group, please respect your neighbor and speak quietly if you're going to speak amongst yourselves, and just respect their ability to listen to what's going on as well. These mics carry pretty good, but this is quite a few people, it looks like. Adam, will you give me a signal when we're getting, are we getting close? We got three.
I got three walking up, but you still have 1, 2, or 3 parking. You still have vehicles parking, so that's your choice, Mayor.
Well, I don't think they'll lose their mind if they don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to have everybody in here. But let's go ahead. We'll just go slow at the beginning here and give them time to get in and get a seat. Tyler, will you call the roll?
Huntley?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brad Consbrook?
Here.
Larry Consbrook?
Here.
Esch?
Here.
Rowan?
Here.
Hoffman?
Here.
Fong?
Here.
A quorum is present, Mayor.
Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I will call for a motion to adopt the current agenda.
Second.
Motion by Fong, second by Esch. Please vote. It's like that passes 8-0. Public notice. Official notice of a special meeting was published in the Hastings Tribune on Friday, September 5th, 2025, pursuant to Nebraska Revised Statute Section 84-1412. The public is advised that a copy of today's agenda and all reproducible written material, which will be discussed at today's meeting, is available for public review, and a current copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is posted and accessible to members of the public. Let's see, with that being said, I think we've got pretty much everybody in the room, don't we? Adam? Getting close?
2 more walking in.
They'll catch up. It's not going to be that big. Okay, tonight we're here to have a public hearing on the proposed 2025-26 annual budget for the city of Hastings. No, wait a second.
hearing.
Wait a second. We started off that one wrong, didn't we? Huh? Fooled you all. I swear to God, this is the agenda I got today, guys, when I picked it up from you. Does anybody have a copy? I guess I can go off the computer. There we go. I like written stuff. Now we're looking right. This is September 15th. Okay. Well, that was my natural delay, so people could join us. Okay, we need to move to citizens communications, only for agenda items not related to public hearing. Once again, please respect your neighbor with the talk in the crowd. And our first speaker looks like Sean Hartman.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Would it be better that we have Mr. Funke's proposal first so everyone knows what we're talking about?
I don't know. I think a lot of people are pretty interested in what's going. I think they're just going to have general comments. We'll go ahead and have Mark's proposal later.
My name's Sean Hartman. I live at 150 East 12th Street. Last year this time I was sitting in that chair right there. I was concerned. We'd started the budget process earlier than we normally did. Potential candidates actually had set in on some of the budget hearings, and we were coming to staff at the last minute, just like you guys are this year, with a bunch of cuts without direction. This year, the process, we started out earlier than that even, and here is still we sit, the city staff being ambushed by last-minute requests that could and should have been addressed months ago. It makes me question if everyone on the council then and now knows who they represent and what their job really means. I want to speak about the responsibilities of a city council and, more importantly, the people that you represent. City council members are community representatives embodying resident hopes, business owner concerns, and the needs of future generations. Their responsibilities extend beyond ordinances, budgets, encompassing safeguarding trust, ensuring transparency, balancing growth and preservation, maintaining public safety, supporting economic vitality, and protecting quality of life. Every policy impacts real people, including seniors, small business owners, and children. The council represents all, including the unheard. Working families, newcomers, and future generations. Effective leadership requires courage, empathy, fairness, wisdom, compromise, and accountability. The council must govern and represent with integrity, serving all residents regardless of background. Council members carry the community's trust, and their decisions should honor it, improving everyday lives. It is your job as city council members to represent the citizens, not just the citizens with a voice group. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Let's go. Okay. All right. Let's go on to Jackie Cranzen.
Hi, Jackie Cranston, 1805 Westchester Drive. I just want to make a note. I think everyone knows it's a pretty highly contested political time, and you just have two mayor candidates that are here to support our mayor, Jay Beckby, as Sean just spoke, and then myself as well. I think that shows, what we look up here and we see, what I saw last week is there was comments about a town hall, and there was 19 people at that meeting, and I looked and I'm like, those are the citizens with a voice that they were there when I ran for council 2-3 years ago, or almost 4 years ago. I feel like that's who you're representing. I don't feel like you're representing all of us up here that show up. When I look at it, I'm like, that's not the stuff that's being said. That's not what was said. Half the city voted for Jay, a little more than half. The other half voted for me. They voted for Sean. Like, that's not the feedback we've been getting. So it's just disheartening when you see these comments being made, and it's like, we're representing the citizens. Are you, or is there 19 people that you're representing? I think the citizens with a voice, there's negativity that infiltrates in our city. I think about the first time that I met the citizens with a voice. I showed up. They were so excited to hear me and meet me because I had posted an email about a former city administrator, something that he didn't say very nice about me, but they were so excited that there was negativity in that email and that this painted that administrator in a negative light. They wanted to hear that. They were excited to hear me. Then the first question they asked me when I got there after I introduced myself, what have you saved the bridge? And when I said, I don't know much about it, I was worthless to them. That is what's infiltrating our city right now. Like, we have so much good going on. Like, our business has grown so much, and there's so much positivity in our city right now. Like, let's focus on that. We don't need to just cut every budget just because some guy over here that attends a meeting at a hotel says cut the budget. Like, you need to listen to everyone at our city. Go over to Watson. I look out my window. There's 50 parents out there. They aren't sitting at this meeting because they don't want to be. They don't have the time to sit here every Monday. Like, you need to listen to everyone in our city. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, let's go with Joseph. It's either Chapman or Chopman. I'm sorry. Chop? Chap. Okay.
Don't worry, I'll introduce myself. Good evening, my name is Joseph Chapman, and I am the Library Experience Supervisor at the Hastings Public Library, 901 Sycamore Avenue. I am glad I have the opportunity to speak early tonight. As some of you may have seen, the library shared posts over the course of the weekend talking about the proposal to cut $45,600 in funding for our digital library service, Hoopla. There are also several proposed changes to our fee schedule, such as increasing the price per copy printed from 10 cents to 25 cents. These are no longer all of the proposed cuts for the library's budget. To find the $360,000 in funds needed by lowering the levy, the library will now also no longer be open on evenings and Saturdays, giving the proposed budget. This amounts to $64,000. Tonight, you will hear from a wide range of people speaking on the library's behalf, showing that it is a treasured service for the city of Hastings, one of many. However, I can assure you that there are so many more notes, letters, and messages that we have received over the course of the weekend from people who could not rearrange their schedules with a few days' notice. However, we will aim to share these notes with those doing the budget work as well as the City Council to show how incredibly important the library is to our community. Finally, directly to the Council, I've heard what the library did this weekend referred to as the stunt they pulled. Properly informing your shareholders is not a stunt. Showing what happens when the council is hopelessly indecisive and non-committal is not a stunt. And even if you cannot get over the fact that it is not a stunt, even if you plug your ears and go la la la, given the budget deficit you created last week, and given how much our stunt will contribute to patching that up, you have exactly 8 other stunts of similar size to contend with tonight. If you truly want to avoid these, I ask that you are courageous and move to return the levy rate to the one proposed in last week's budget. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. Let's go. All right. Okay, I appreciate applause and stuff like that, but we can hold that to a minimum if we can. Sam Rundle.
My name's Sam Rundle, 2101 West 9th. I'm the Programming and Collections Supervisor at the Hastings Public Library. I'm here today to urge you not to reduce library hours, especially by cutting evening and weekend access. These are not just convenient times. For many, they are the only times people can come. Reducing these hours won't reduce access, just reduce access, it will devastate programming. At least 14 reoccurring programs for each month will be eliminated if these hours are cut. These include story times, STEAM programs, teen events, family activities, book club, and all humanities presentations, all of which are scheduled during evenings and weekends to accommodate working families, students, and people with daytime obligations. These are not extras. They're essentials to community learning, connection, and enrichment. Eliminating them means turning away from the very people libraries are meant to serve. I would also like to address the council's concern about discontinuing membership in outside organizations as mentioned in previous meetings. One major component of my position is to keep the library's collection and programs relevant in an ever-changing world. This requires a lot of research, creativity, and collaboration with outside agencies. I'm a member of the Nebraska Library Association Board and am chair of the Nebraska Golden Sower Award Committee. Through this program, we continue to foster a lifelong enjoyment of reading for over 75,000 children, teachers, and librarians annually in Nebraska. So I would like the council to reconsider the idea of not funding such memberships as their benefits far outweigh their costs, and we are grateful to witness how this affects the people we serve each and every day. Please consider the real human impact of these decisions. I ask you to protect our public library and ensure they remain open when the community needs them. Thank you.
Thank you. And number 5, Alyssa Langholz. Langholz. All right.
Okay, my name's Alyssa Langholz. I'm at 101 South Republican in Juniata, and I'm an employee of the City of Hastings at the library. And I'm going to start real originally with the mission statement of the Hastings Public Library, which is to enhance the quality of life for our community by providing personalized and open access to the world of information and ideas. In order to fulfill this mission, Hastings Public Library needs the funds to provide the services the community wants and needs. We have seen through attendance here and an outpouring of support on social media that hoopla is an important part of access to information and ideas for our community. Charging to use this, as some have suggested, would go against the core values of a library and against our mission statement. A paywall would not make for open access to anything. Additionally, considering limiting hours of operation does not speak to open access. I've heard weekend and evening hours proposed to cut, which limits times that working parents can spend with their families at the library. Even changing when these hours would be cut doesn't solve the problem. If we take away afternoon hours, we take away a safe space for children to come after school. Many children rely on Hastings Public Library being a distribution center for Catholic Social Services sack lunches in the afternoon. Morning hours takes away from many families with younger children that come to story time and programming at the library. During the summer or even winter break, we have kids lined up at 9 a.m. for a safe, climate-controlled place to spend part or all of their day. Taking away any hours is taking away open access to a portion of the population of Hastings. By coupling a popular remote way to access information and limiting hours the library would be physically available to patrons, the mission of a personalized and open access is completely undermined. The citizens here today are, from what I understand, a large part personally here telling you how you can fund the library to help achieve its mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Let's move on to Bruce Rundle.
My name is Bruce Rundle. I lived at 1525 Crestmore. Good evening, members of council. I want to speak in opposition of your proposed budget cuts for the city. Lowering the levy will shortchange the departments and services in the city that we all use and really appreciate. With the cost of goods going up, these cuts to departments like the library and the museum and the parks will hurt even more because of being short-sighted just to look tough on taxes. The loss of these programs and the people that are really associated with them in these departments kind of hurts all of us. I urge you to consider the long-term consequences of what you're proposing to do.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
Jody Stutzman.
Jody Stutzman, 709 North Briggs Avenue. I watched the last city council meeting from my home in disgust. So the next day I sent emails to council members Larry Consbrook, Mark Rowan, and Mike Anderson. Larry Consbrook declined to respond. I simply asked council member Rowan why he voted no on the funding agreement with HEDC and the chamber. He replied, and I quote, "I have not seen any growth in the town for 4 decades. Economic growth doesn't seem to be happening." I replied, "What can you do as a council person to spur economic development?" He replied, "I do not have much to say about that. My authority is to simply vote on items presented before the council. I can encourage others to bring in business." I would say that by you saying economic development isn't happening, you know nothing about your ward and your city, and I would recommend venturing outside the walls of the Hampton Inn in your special meetings. Councilman Anderson provided a lengthy response to the same question about his no vote regarding HEDC. He described going door to door during his campaign, but not about what he is doing since being elected. He then replied, "So why did I vote no? Because all these new housing opportunities are only opportunities if you can afford them. We need to showcase Hastings for new employees and employers, as well as people who live and work here." I'm not sure Council Member Anderson understands his ward or city either. Maybe he forgot about the Hoppy and Mesner projects that are going on in his own ward and city. I then asked him the same question. Since you voted no, what are you going to do to spur economic development? He declined to respond. Council members were elected to find solutions to problems. So far, they haven't provided any solution and have just complained. A problem without a solution is just a complaint, right? So I'm not just complaining either. I will probably never get a response to my email again, but I will make it known that every single time from now on that this group doesn't have the same economic development facts as the rest of us do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Caroline Kemp.
I'm Caroline Kemp, 1006 Glenwood Avenue. So today is actually my first time I've ever attended a city council meeting. I joke that I'm a married single parent. I have twin boys, and so I'm actually foregoing swim practice tonight to be able to be here and speak to you. And after listening to last week's City Council meeting, as I am out in my neighborhood walking my dog, I felt compelled to come here this evening. As you can probably tell, I'm not a Nebraska native, but I have chosen for Nebraska to be my home for the past 17 and a half years, 14 of which I have lived in Hastings. I'm a small business owner here. My husband works for Hastings Utilities. We choose to live here. We choose to send our children to school here. We choose to do business and work here in Hastings because we believe this is an incredible place to live and work and raise a family. However, I do not choose the way some of the members of the City Council are dictating the direction we as a community are heading. Last week, 5 of you voted down the proposed city budget. They talk about wanting to grow the city, but are actively voting to reduce the services. Mr. Nash spoke how if we continued down this road, making these decisions, the city cash reserves would be reduced to $400,000 by 2030. My kids are set to graduate in 2030, and while that's a terrifying thought in itself, what is more scary is how short-sighted these city council members are. What future does the next generation have? Why would my children choose Hastings? It is my belief that these council members are appeasing the views of a few vocal individuals and not representing the majority of their constituents. I, for one, are fed up with it and will be holding these individuals accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Caroline. Dave Rippey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Dave Rippey, 1312 Heritage Drive. About 10 years ago, I started packaging developments for myself and other business partners in this community, and we started investing downtown in vacant buildings. And by the end of this calendar year, us and our partners will have invested about $20 million into this community in the form of mixed-use housing downtown, mixed-use commercial development, and our new trailside development up north. That started with generational families here that had a vision for our community and what we could be, not necessarily what we were or the vacant buildings downtown, but what we believed Hastings could be. That vision over the last 10 years has expanded to companies from outside of this town, large private foundations from outside of this town, people that have also understood a shared vision for this community. We've done this and we've been able to do this with great partners here. Great partners in the Community Redevelopment Authority, great partners in the Hastings Economic Development Corporation, great partners with the Hastings City Council. We've been able to effectuate not just our projects, but last year I packaged projects for the Susanna Walter Scott Foundation, Noah's Ark WR Reserve, and the Lagunas family, totaling $125 million. Lots of growth in this town. We've been able to do this in partnership with those agencies that I mentioned before and a highly competent, highly caring, highly compassionate, highly problem-solving city staff. Over the last 10 years, we've been supported greatly by the staff of the City of Hastings, and we're very, very thankful for that. If we start taking away professional development funds, memberships to organizations, opportunities for our staff to travel and learn and bring back new ideas to this community, we're going to shortchange ourselves the opportunity for not just our future investments, but the investments of many others. And so as you go forward in the budget process, I just want to encourage you to think about why people invest here, that shared vision for our community, the efforts that we benefited from, and the tremendous staff that we have here. And let's just do all we can to keep them and continue to do more together. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Let's move on to Craig Hubbard.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm going to bet I don't get an applause after this, but anyway. I got a little different take on it. I was fine with whatever direction we went with the budget last week. I think the staff has done a good job. I've looked at the budget, and you can go line item by line item and see where things have been cut out of this budget prior to last week's meeting. However, I'm also a tax-paying citizen, and if you can reduce my tax burden, I'm going to be appreciative of that. So I appreciated the vote to keep the tax ask the same and reduce the mill levy. What I don't appreciate is laying all that burden on your staff to decide where those cuts come from. I could sit here as you open up the budget, which I've conveniently packaged with my comprehensive plan. You'll see the chart of how the government works for the city of Hastings. And it doesn't say staff at the top of that, it says citizens. And right below citizens, well, it's the mayor and council. That's you guys. So when it comes to making those hard decisions, it should be on you, all of you, not them. You have voted to reduce the mill levy. You got to come up with $360,000 worth of cuts. When I look at the budget and I see you have an IT budget of almost $4 million, I think, boy, I might look at IT. Brian's a pretty sharp IT guy. I bet he might be able to look at that and say, oh, maybe we can do something a little bit better there. $4 million for an IT department. Now, 20 years ago, you didn't have that $4 million on the budget because you didn't have an IT department. But there's 9 computers sitting there that all you use is for voting. You could cut $9,000 right there and just say yay or nay. So that's on you guys. You make the decisions. And now that it's been lowered, get together, figure out what you can cut. And if it means you got to postpone the airplane hangar another year, postpone the airplane hangar. You know, it can be done. And you ought to be able to go through this budget line item by line item. I got pages marked if you want me to share them with you afterwards. Thank you.
You never said your address, real quick, bud.
I sent it all to you earlier in an email, but
Oh.
2100 East 12th Street.
All right, thanks for the record. Okay. Let's move on to page 2. Michaela Wright.
Michaela Wright, 3030 South Adams Central. I am the Marketing and PR Director for the Hastings Museum. I'm here tonight on behalf of what could be 19 staff members. Since our director started in 1996, that team of 42 was cut more than in half, all while expanding resources and impact. We are a very small team, but we carry an enormous impact for our city, our schools, visitors from across the world, and families who call Hastings home. We play a critical role in Hastings' economy. Visitors come to the museum, eat in our restaurants, stay in our hotels, and shop in our stores. We help drive tourism and are a reason for new families to move here and existing residents to stay, which helps drive growth. The museum is both a cultural anchor and an economic engine. In 2024, nearly 33,000 people walked through our doors with visitors from 7 international and 620 domestic postal codes, proof that our reach extends far beyond city limits, less than 1% of which was during Kool-Aid days, which proves we are an economic generator year-round. But our impact goes beyond those numbers. The museum is not just a static building with exhibits. It is a place of service created through the hard work of our employees and the support of our representatives. But budget cuts put all of this at risk. Fewer staff means fewer low-cost programs and fewer opportunities for outreach. Reduced hours mean fewer accessible days for visitors and tourists. Higher ticket prices mean more children and families excluded. And less presence at community events means we lose visibility, engagement, and support. Every single cut has a ripple effect that will affect us for years to come, and our fear is that we will get to a point of no return. We know resources are tight, but I can tell you that no one maximizes limited resources the way we do. Every hour, every dollar, every ounce of effort is stretched to create the biggest impact. We are deeply proud of that. On behalf of the current and future museum staff, I am asking you, please do not force us to make cuts that cannot be undone. Once our staff are lost, programs are cut, exhibits are closed, and doors are shut, they are extraordinarily difficult to bring back. The Hastings Museum is not just an attraction. For 98 years, we have been a hub of learning, discovery, and community. Support for the museum is support for Hastings' quality of life. It is an investment in our children, our schools, our families, and in the very future of the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michaela. Wasn't that Michaela? Who was that? Yes, Michaela. There we go. We move to Joyce Moore.
My name's Joyce Moore. I live at 611 West 33rd. I'm here in opposition to these budget cuts. I moved to Hastings 6 years ago, mainly to be close to my grandkids who have grown and thrived because of the library, the museum, the parks. I would just hate to see any of that impacted. And as was just mentioned, once you cut it and do away with it, it's pretty hard to bring it back. A friend of mine just today, when she found out I was coming here and why, she moved here 2 years ago from Colorado. And they didn't have a family to draw them here like I did. They were just looking for a new place to go, and there was a job opportunity here, so they came and checked out Hastings first. She said the first place I went was the library. And I thought, yeah, this is good. I can live with this library. Think about the future of the city. If you make these cuts, Hastings is not going to be attractive to people who are looking for a new place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Let's see. Daniel Hernandez.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel Hernandez. The reason I'm here, I just want to
Just need your
say a few
address.
words.
if
My
you would.
address is 2705 Lakeview Avenue.
Thank you.
So I'm from Cuba, actually, and I remember when I first arrived in this town, it was not easy to adapt to this new culture. Everything will feel different, the way of life, the costume, and especially the language. The language barrier was one of the harder challenges I faced because I made communication and connection difficult when you're not able to speak and talk to this community in my beginnings. But step by step, I learned to overcome. It was the effort, the patience, and the support for others in this community. Those early struggles became lessons that shaped my personal development, teaching me resilience, adaptability, and perseverance. Along this way, I also the importance of helping others who face the same challenges, supporting a community that they want to be part of this city is not only an act of kindness, it is an investment of the future for this city. That's why I work hard to help this community, because this success also the city's success. By opening doors and creating opportunities, we strengthen our city in values, diversity, and opportunities for everybody else. For this reason, I'm deeply grateful to this city. I welcome me, they give me the opportunity, allow me to grow, and that's why I'm so important to continue to develop those kind of support for others. When we give the community the chance to belong, we are not only helping them, but also helping to build a stronger, brighter future for us. And finally, I want to say that this city is not only giving me the opportunity and support, it's also giving me the chance to practice my English every single day. Yes, I still make mistakes, but don't worry. I've learned that even when my English is grown, my gratitude is always right. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to, might be Colin Lewis.
Colin Lewis, 1935 West Bell Street. To begin with, I'm deeply saddened to see that citizens with a voice are still bullying this town. I thought after the bridge blunder, I thought after the casino that we were done with that. And we're not, I guess. Second, since I only got 2 minutes, it is horrendously saddening to me to see that we would make cuts to the library, to the museum, things that are cultural pillars of this town and things that enrich the community. No other nation, no other developed community on the planet treats arts and education like this. It is just saddening to see how it's going, that you would make these cuts, but that you would find the room for private jet hangars among these cuts. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Let's move on to Kelsey Denson.
Hello, Kelsey Denson. I live at 515 South Lexington, and this is just a little bit intimidating, but I've always believed, why have a voice if you're not going to use it? So tonight I'm here to speak about the importance of keeping hoopla as part of our library services and about the proposed reduction of our library's hours. A library is not just a building with books. It's a bridge that connects our community to knowledge and opportunity. Hoopla extends the bridge beyond the library walls. It allows busy families, working people, seniors, and so many others access to books, movies, audiobooks, and educational resources anytime, anywhere. For many, this isn't just convenience, it's access. Parents who can't always bring their children to the library in person can still read together before bed. Seniors who can no longer drive or are visually impaired can continue learning and exploring new stories. Families living paycheck to paycheck can still enjoy the same resources as those who can afford subscriptions on their own. Hoopla ensures equity among all. But access isn't only about digital resources, it's also about hours. Closing the library earlier in the day and on Saturdays will hurt the very people who need it the most. People who can only come after work, students who need evenings or weekend study time, and families who count on Saturdays as their one chance to visit together. Shorter hours means fewer opportunities, and that weakens rather than strengthens our community. I understand the concerns about budgets, but you should see the library, not just hoopla, but its hours and services as an investment, not an expense. These resources save families hundreds of dollars a year, provide 24/7 access without extra staffing, and reinforce the library's role in being a representative for equity and accessibility for all. Every dollar spent multiplies in value because it reaches people who otherwise would go without. Today, our community needs access more than ever. Cutting hours or removing hoopla would be a step backwards. Our library should be a leader in ensuring that every resident, no matter their age, income, or mobility, has access to the same wealth of knowledge. I urge you to protect our library's full hours of service and hoopla, because a strong library is not measured only by the books on its shelves, but by the doors it keeps open, both literally and digitally, for every person in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck Conrad.
Chuck Conrad, 1223 East 7th Street. First, thank you all for letting us all come in and speak. I was coming in to talk on economic development because I'm the vice chair of the Chamber of Commerce. And I was expecting to see what we normally see for a crowd out here, so I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing. What I would like to talk about with development is I've lived here my whole life. I love this community. But the changes that I've been seeing in the community are disheartening too. But first, with economic development, what do I always hear? Why do we not have what Grand Island and Kearney are getting? Why don't you guys go after this? Well, that's not how it works. You guys can't go after it, so development has to. So the way that it's going to happen is you don't cut budgets and you in fact invest more. I can guarantee you go to Grand Island or Kearney, their economic developments have money to work with. To bring businesses in, you have to go and talk to them. You have to be able to convince them to come in. You can't just send them an email or do small things like that. So that is where I want to say things haven't changed for years because we as the citizens of Hastings and the city have not invested in economic development like we need to. Secondly is just all these people, look at them all, constituents. They're all here for a reason. They want to have their voice heard, which is very important in this town, or the way we live now. And also, if nothing else, let's get back to the way it used to be in this town, where you could be neighbors and have friends and stuff. You knew Joe over here didn't agree with you on this. You didn't talk to Joe on that. Nowadays, it seems like Joe is now the enemy, and you're going to, it's just not right. We're supposed to be citizens and take care of each other. And so if you look at what's going on in the last couple of weeks with shootings and stuff in this country, I just say here in Hastings, let's bring back that community we used to have and share with our neighbors, and let's turn down the heat. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Let's move to Brad Beam.
Hello, Brad Beam, 315 South Bellevue. I come tonight on behalf of my household to implore you not to make the cuts to valuable programs, services, and staff as part of your budget process. It feels like we're dangerously close to actively making things worse for the citizens and for visitors to Hastings. I've served on the Library Advisory Board and I've been part of the budget process for that organization. My wife currently serves on the Museum Board and previously has served on this council for two terms. So we know how this budget process works, and that means that we know that the staff that have prepared these departmental budgets work extraordinarily hard to get the most out of the limited resources that they do have and to make the absolute best budget, and this is especially true for the museum and library. These two parts of the city exist to educate, to entertain, and to add to our quality of life, and I feel they're way more valuable than this or any budget could ever accurately reflect. I think of two instances where I've given our city tour to prospective employees to convince them to move to Hastings. These are young families with small children, and in both cases I made sure to highlight how great the library and museums are. And in both cases, when these families move to town, they've utilized these gems of the city. So making cuts to these budget takes away some of those things, and it makes it worse, I think, for all of us. Cutting hours of operation is detrimental to their missions. These are entities that improve Hastings now and will do so for years to come. Every kid who goes to the library or museum, every adult who seeks knowledge grows into be a better person, a student, a parent, an employee. I don't like paying more in taxes, but I hate paying taxes for fewer city services. I think that we're all painfully aware just about how much things cost now more than a few years ago. It seems to be a fool's errand to try to reduce the city budget when the cost of literally everything else is going up. This citizen has a voice, and I think that most reasonable people can agree that small rising shared costs are appropriate as long as the value remains. I hope you can all agree with the sentiment that we want Hastings to be the best Hastings it can be. Cutting budgets that take value from the museum, the library, and other service departments is not the best that Hastings can be.
Thank you, Brad. Justine McMurray.
Good evening, I'm Justine McMurray. I live at 727 North Hewitt. Tonight I'm here to talk about the cuts to the library and to the museum. I used to work at the museum, and I can tell you now that cutting cuts to them would decrease tourism as well. And that is a lot of I'm sorry, I should have written this down, I'm very nervous. But that brings in a lot of outside from, I need just a second, I'm sorry. I'll move on to the library because that's what I'm pretty passionate about tonight. Cutting hoopla and the library hours would take away pretty much everything that I get from the library. I am not able to be at the library anytime other than in the evenings or on the weekends because I work in Grand Island. Hoopla has been made a world of difference for me and my family. My mom is a double amputee and has trouble seeing because of her diabetes. So having access to audiobooks and ebooks that she can make bigger are the only ways that she is able to utilize and to read. My husband, who had only read 2 books in the time that he'd been out of high school, which is almost 30 years, once he got Hoopla a year and a half ago, just finished his 32nd book last weekend. I've read 95 books this year, and while I have other options, I have Audible, I have Libby, Hoopla is a big proponent of that, and we also utilize that 100%. Any Hoopla user will tell you that you have to get on before 9 o'clock in the morning to even be able to get one. That limit is met daily. So we are utilizing that to our fullest ability. For the hours for the library, not just am I able to go to those now, but when I was in college for my MBA, my computer broke down, and that was the only way that I was able to finish my homework for over a month. So I would implore you that you don't make these cuts. Thank you.
Thanks, Justine. If you think that place makes you nervous, you should try my seat. Let's see. go to Scott Barwick. There he is.
My name's Scott Barwick, and I'm the owner of Drake Tool and Design at 3401 Yost Avenue. And over the last few weeks, we've came and explained to you guys how Hastings Economical Development has had a crucial part in several different businesses in this community. And I even talked to you, Mark, at a Rib Fest and tried to point out different things that Hastings Economical Development has had a very crucial part in. And then we get to the end of the vote, and we vote to not fund it, several of you. And for the life of me, I cannot understand that. We have needed economical development in this community for a long time, and we are getting it. If anybody could walk or drive around with your eyes open, I'm hoping you are, because it would be very dangerous for you to be doing that, would see that Hastings Economical Development is making a difference in this community. And for the life of me, I cannot understand how that we can believe some of the stories that's being told. I've been told by some people that has talked to different groups in this community that no one has done anything to try filling in the building at Eaton's Corporation. That is not true in any way, shape, or form. There has been several offers on that building trying to put a business in there. They are not budging on price. But that is not something that's being told properly. We're getting told a bunch of half-truths, and we're all believing it. And I am tired of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. That brings up Susan Mieske.
Hi, Susan Mieske, 1000 West 9th Street. I've heard recent discussions about potential cuts to museum and library hours, and I want to express my strong concern. These are vital public institutions that contribute directly to our city's quality of life. They aren't just amenities. They are critical for attracting and retaining college students, employees, and families who want to live in a community that values learning, culture, and access for all. Likewise, I urge you to be very careful about any reductions in services or increases in rates at the auditorium or water park. These facilities aren't luxuries. They serve as core gathering places and recreation options for residents. The water park in particular is not only a summer highlight for many families, but also a source of first-time employment for dozens of local teenagers. Thousands of residents from all parts of the city benefit from it, whether or not every council member personally uses it. I know this has been a long and difficult budget process, and I appreciate the time and energy each one of you has invested. I also want to express my appreciation for our dedicated city employees. As someone who serves on the utilities board, I know how valuable their expertise is. We may come in for a few hours a week or a month, but and to represent the public, but that doesn't make us engineers or financial analysts. Our good intentions do not replace their years, sometimes decades of professional experience and advanced education. More broadly, I want to acknowledge the importance of civil discourse in this process. Across the country, we've seen how quickly productive dialogue can deteriorate. But I believe Hastings can be different. We can do better and be better. That's why I'm deeply concerned by reports that a council member is regularly visiting city staff to remind them of their power and ability to get them fired, referencing a voting block of 5 council members that they have the votes. If this is true, this is completely unprofessional. It's bullying. Regularly threatening someone's job creates a toxic work environment and makes it nearly impossible to have the kind of open, collaborative discussions our city needs. I urge you all to prioritize and respect the professionalism in your interactions, and the way we treat each other sets the tone for our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan Arrington Williams.
Hello, council members. I live at 1009 South Pine, deep in Ward 1. And I come to speak to you tonight to say thank you for listening to the community of Hastings and listening to valuable voices that have spoken here on all sides tonight. As the director of Prairie Loft, I am responsible for creating my budget for my organization. As the director of other nonprofit organizations, they are responsible for creating their budgets. Then we submit that budget with some guidance to our board for feedback. Feedback is what creates that conversation in developing these budgets and completing them successfully year in and year out. I can also speak to the importance of the library and the role that it plays in my family's life. My kiddos are at soccer practice right now. I am deciding not to be there, so I can come to talk about how important the library and the museum is to our families. We find ourselves there Saturday, every Saturday during the winter. This is a time where, hey, yay, Prairie Loft, I want to be outside, but also Nebraska winters are harsh. That's where children find safe spaces, warm spaces, and spaces to learn and extend their knowledge and community connection when the weather does not agree, when it's 105 degrees outside. And so when we threaten to cut these budget line items, we're threatening to cut not just experiences, not just one thing that could happen on a Friday night, but also things that can impact families from here into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, Lucinda Glenn.
Lucinda Glenn, 820 Highland Drive. I've been asked many times to assist with recruiting and retaining talent to our community, especially young talent. And none of them ever asks how much our property taxes are. What they do ask about is our lifestyle, our quality of life. They want to know about our hiking and biking trails, our parks. They often comment on how beautifully they're maintained. They often talk about how beautifully they're maintained. They think the water park is lovely, and Chautauqua Park especially impressive. They ask to see the library. They're impressed that a town of our size would have such a beautiful modern library with a makerspace. They're impressed that we have a very workable city auditorium and that we are in the process of renovating City Hall. They even comment on how well maintained our streets are, which I know no one seems to believe, but apparently that is true. Yes, we have beautiful schools and playgrounds, and we're building apartments they can actually live in. They point out our vital and well-maintained downtown. Everywhere, visible signs of progress and construction. But those come at a price. They aren't free. And if we don't have those things, we lose in our quality of life. In tough times, and I guess these are those, we invest in ourselves. If we're waiting for the state or the federal government to give us money to keep us alive out here, I have bad news. They are not coming. We have to save ourselves. And when times get tough, we invest in ourselves. Please reconsider these short-sighted budget cuts and invest in our library, our parks, our pool, our streets, and our public employees, because once they're gone, replacing them will be very difficult, and it'll cost more. Oh, and deferred maintenance. When you cut maintenance out of a budget, have we learned that that's a bad choice?
Thank you, Lucinda. That concludes everybody that I have on my sheet, and I appreciate everybody's comment and showing up. Is there anyone else that wants to speak? I see a stander.
Good evening. Edward Krantz, 1203 East 9th Street, Hastings, Nebraska. Here to talk about the budget. Quite frankly, everybody that come up here, I don't really disagree with a lot of what they said there. Sounds like they want this park, or they want the library, they want the museum. There should be a no vote on every one of you guys for this budget here, because apparently somebody is not listening to their customers. Department heads are the ones supposed to cut the budget, not the city council. City council makes recommendations as far as how much to cut. They don't make recommendations on what to cut. So if I was you, I'd send this whole thing back to them, say, do it again. If that means that we get fined for not getting the budget done on time, get fined. Get it right, but get fined. As far as cutting things, I worked in manufacturing my whole life. Whenever I started as a manager at Dutton Langston Company 17, 18 years ago, I had a pretty good sized staff. By the time I semi-retired about a year ago, I had about half that much people that was over. And guess what? We're still doing the same amount of stuff we did before. We're just doing it faster, better, more efficient. That's the same thing that needs to happen with our city departments. Figure out how to do it with less people. You can do it, just try. You don't have to keep going with the same amount of people all the time, getting the same results. Figure out how to make it done, get it done a lot faster and simpler. Usually you get a better product. All kinds of stuff out there you guys could use to find to help yourself out. Try the Nebraska Council for the Nebraska Quality Assurance Council, 1302 in Omaha, Nebraska. They got all kinds of information out there you can use, not just for manufacturing, but for city offices and things like that. If you have any questions about that, let me know. I'll be happy to help you out find the website. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come forward? Oh, we have a hand up. Come on.
My name is Georgie Warnock. I reside at 1306 North 7th Avenue. I originally wasn't planning on speaking at this meeting. I was invited by a friend who is incredibly passionate at keeping the library alive and thriving. Hearing everybody, I decided I may as well say something. I have lived in Hastings less than 2 years. One of the things that drove my husband and I to move here rather than Grand Island was the amazing facilities that this town has. Not only was it a job opportunity, but for us it was an amazing community which we saw thriving. I was able to be a part of several groups that I never imagined myself, well into my 30s now, being a part of. I find myself in book clubs and discussing things that I never thought I would have the opportunity to, making friends at after hour programs that I never would be able to if we limit these type of resources for the community. And I'm a grown woman. I don't have children. I don't have anybody who isn't a part of an after-school program or anything that's going to these. These are things that I myself am taking great pride in my city. These are things that when my family comes to visit, I am excited to show them. I love being able to tell people that I come from the town now that is the home of Kool-Aid, being able to take them downtown and to all of the thriving businesses there. It's a great place to be and an amazing place to live and learn. And if we continue to cut these resources, not only are people like me not going to continue to flood into this city, you're going to continue to not only limit us, but the children who already reside here and the future generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who wishes to come up and speak? Yes, we have a taker.
Jessica Rohan, 2930 Wendell Drive. I honestly wasn't sure I was going to come up and speak to you guys today. However, as I listened to everybody here today, our services are incredibly important. And I completely agree with most everything that's been said tonight. My real concern is coming in the fact that this council, through this entire process, has taken a very long time to come up and ask some of these vital questions that you waited till the very last minute, and I don't understand why. As you have asked throughout the process, in a very long process, cuts had been made. My question is, why at the very last meeting was there such a large group of individuals on this council that chose that moment to try and push additional cuts? We constantly hear as a city that we aren't growing. The fact is, this is a very different community than what I grew up in. You can see the differences in this community. And I think it's incredibly short-sighted by some of these individuals on this council that took so much time to ask these questions and to push an agenda. And I have to really wonder whether or not you guys are truly doing what's in the best interest of this community. You're hearing everyone talk about services today. That's because you guys honestly said it was better to eliminate and cut services than to try and work together to find a solution, and to find a solution early on. There's no reason we should be up against a deadline on this budget. You guys failed by not coming to the table sooner. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Looks like the crowd is quiet. So that will end citizens' communication. Thank you all. Let's move on to our agenda items. Our first agenda item, I would ask for a motion for the amended ordinance number 4809, adopting the annual appropriation bill for the city of Hastings and adopting appropriate sums for the necessary expenses and liability for fiscal year 2025-2026. Does nobody wish to motion for the amended budget? I thought that's what we did the last meeting with our council.
I believe they're discussing what motion to make.
Would be told what's going on, if you would, so everybody knows what they're talking about.
Councilman Huntley just asked me if he has apparently a list of some proposed changes to the budget, and I was just explaining to him that the proposed budget, or excuse me, the proposed motion that I've given all of council only changes to reflect that we are no longer asking for $360,522 less than what we previously were asking for. It does not incorporate into what has been proposed by staff in the actual, what has been discussed for as far as library cuts and everything else like that. Those are operational decisions that would have gone into effect, but if council wants to specifically line item things or something like that, they can do that through the amendment process once we have a motion and a second on the floor. Hopefully that clarifies.
So I'll make a motion to amended ordinance number 4809, adopting the annual appropriation bill for the city of Hastings and adopting appropriate sums for the necessary expenses and liability for the fiscal year 2025-2026.
Please add, it's on the paper right in front of you, the part, and amending the tax asking from there.
And amending the tax asking of the city of Hastings on all real estate and personal property to be reduced by a total of $360,522.
Second.
Motion by Brad Consbrook, second by Anderson. Mark, you have the floor.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. I want to make a couple of statements before I get into the actual changes that are being made. First of all, I know a lot of you have probably watched the budget session from last Monday, but we're not in attendance here. So I just do want to reiterate that the city staff and myself worked very hard to follow the direction given from council at the last meeting. I was asked to cut services if necessary. We are not allowed to fire people, and it was very, very clearly pointed out that this was my responsibility to get this work done. So that is the approach that we took. I directed city staff to look at all areas that they could find to cut services, personnel if we needed, but that was a secondary thing, because as I've stated over and over, people equal services in our community, so it's very hard to separate those two. And honestly, they did an unbelievable job this week. It has been a very long and trying week. There have been a lot of extra hours. I really want to thank the city staff and the department heads for working with your teams and getting to a place that we could try to address this $360,000 shortfall that was produced from the levy change last week. Secondly, thank you to all the citizens that have showed up tonight. We really appreciate having your voice in the conversation. It is exceedingly difficult to know where to move and what to do sometimes, and this has been very difficult for me to sit and listen to this. As I've stated, this is my responsibility to propose these cuts, and I know I'm proposing things that people in this room are not going to like based on what we have just heard tonight. But I can't stress enough how important it is for you all to be here and to speak your voices. It is critical so that we know how to move forward. So I apologize for what I'm about to present, because this is going to anger a lot of you from the comments that we heard, but this is what I was directed to do. I take full responsibility for working hard with the team to meet the requirements of the levy reduction to find the $360,000 worth of money. Okay, so what are we doing? So the first thing we looked at is operating. I had a question from Councilman Rowan a couple of meetings ago about taking a deeper dive and looking at other things. We did that as a staff. I presented some things just anecdotally at the last meeting. And I've listed this first slide is all of the operating costs that we are looking at cutting more deeply. So you can see things like administrative and professional services. So that is in my budget. I was kind of holding some of those dollars for backup dollars from other departments should we need some things. But I'm proposing to reduce another $10,000 there. I spoke about $5,000 last week, so I've gone a little deeper. Training and conferences, same thing. That is in my budget and is used to support the folks that are under my umbrella. We've reduced that by $5,000. Safety awards, we had $15,000. We had already cut it down from 20 or 25. I'm reducing that now to $7,500. The activity guide, Tony Herman offered up the activity guide. We usually have printed copies that we distribute around town and put in the newspapers to send out to folks for our different activity guides throughout the year. With these cuts, those will no longer happen. We will now only do digital. And then there was some discussion about removing credit card fees. I went through all of the budget line items and found all the credit card fees that pertain to the general fund that could help find us some money in this proposal. I'm proposing with this to reduce it, excuse me, if this is approved, starting on the 1st of January of next year, because we need some time to communicate out. So it's a little bit of a prorated amount. It was closer to about 23 or 24,000, 22,000, something like that. So we would realize about 18,000 if we started right around the 1st of the year with that proposal. Okay, oops, I jumped one too far. Secondly, this is where it gets a little bit tougher. So the staff worked really hard to pull numbers, and we were working on this up until this morning.
and early afternoon to get these things finalized to decide where we were going to go and what we were going to impact. I can tell you, I have some unhappy directors because I had to make some decisions on what we were going to cut, and they had hoped that we would not have to go this deep. First thing is we're proposing to change the operating hours of the water park. We will start later, starting on June 1st. We will also reduce the end time of the water park from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. That proposal saves almost $100,000 by itself. Secondly, you've heard a lot about the library and hoopla. Those two changes, if we no longer did weekends or evenings, amount to $64,000, and hoopla by itself is a $45,000 service that we provide. The museum also dove deep into what they're doing. This position, while it is a position, is one that is currently vacant. There is no one being terminated in this. It does reduce some hours as well, that we won't be able to offer some things because we would be short one person on our visitor services desk or in our education department. We're proposing no longer having Hollywood movies. They cost a lot and take a lot of time to run, or a lot of work to get running. So this would eliminate some of the time and use of our auditorium at our theater at the museum. And then the museum has proposed a number of other options, such as reducing advertising, not running the fountain, reduce community engagement, professional development and training, as well as the removal of the ASTC membership, which provides benefits to members at multiple different museums around the country. And then the last item is the Development Services Department offered up. We have $50,000 left in our demolition fund. We potentially have one project that could happen in the next year. We would probably have to stop and not be able to actually demo a house that had burned earlier this year. Those are the things that I have. I'm sorry, I don't think I jumped. Oh, you did, thank you, thanks. So those are the things that I have that the staff worked on, and I'm happy to take any questions about this the council might have.
Mr. Mark, are you saying that you asked the department heads to find cuts and these are what they came up with? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's correct.
So
There are also other things, but these are the ones that I've narrowed the list down to get to the $360,000 that we had to find.
Okay, so the two items for the library
Yes.
that are obviously on folks' hearts, they may have supplied you with more than two, and you just chose those two, correct?
I believe those are the only two major things other than personnel for the library. So yes, I chose those over personnel because I was directed not to harm employees.
Were thoughts given towards my idea of the $54,000 for Nebraska League of Municipalities?
Yes, I do have that on the list. I chose not to go there because it really only impacts the general fund $27,000 because the other half of that comes out of the utilities budget. We share that cost equally. We also got some information about the value added. The league has saved, I don't know, millions of dollars, I think, for the utilities over the years. So some of our conversation was if we really had to cut that, then the utilities might have to pick up the whole cost of it to keep it alive. So I decided that maybe we had a different option for that, so I did not consider it.
So you're saying membership to the Nebraska League and the Nebraska Municipalities saves the utilities millions of dollars?
Derek, I don't know if you want to respond to that.
Yeah, we, after you asked the question, I did reach out to Lash Chafin, who's on the utility side. He sent me some things that they've helped with through the past. I knew of a couple. I could give some examples when it comes to some of the historical, more lead and copper rules. The league's there to make sure that we have a voice when it comes to the state government. we don't have time to attend all those meetings. When those meetings get to the point where they need us, they let us know. I've went down, I've sat in a couple, I didn't speak, but gave a letter to the Natural Resource Committee. I do have a few here. When it comes to gas utility regulation, we went through some concerning things back in 2000 where they helped us and fellow communities with that, with our discussions with Kinder Morgan.
In what year? In what year, sir?
This was year 2000.
Thank
Water, wastewater revolving loan funds, that's a big thing that the league has helped us with in the past. Municipal equalization funds are something that's been discussed in the past. We've done different grant programs. I think Hastings tapped the fund for, I think there was $120,000 for the museum. I don't have the years on this. The auditorium, I think we had $750,000. So I know it's more than the utilities, but the reality is this network of what we're trying to, what we face, Hastings is in a really good spot. We have ample capacity, but our capacity is aging. Our capacity is of a vintage to where there's discussions of where we go in the future. We partnered with Grand Island, went up and talked to senators to discuss the real concerns of the challenges that our ratepayers are going to be up against if some of the regulations towards coal move forward. The league helped us orchestrate that. The league keeps us informed. We don't have time to sit down there and talk to every senator. They do. That's their job. For what is now $27,000, as I told Mark, I think that this is so important to our ratepayers that if the utilities has to fund this on behalf of the city as well, that's something I'm happy to bring back towards our board and bring for the recommendation of council. But I think getting rid of the league is so much more than just a meeting that we can send and inform people. They are actively doing things to try to help support small communities.
I do understand that, but I also do know this last conference, only one person from this entire city signed up to go.
There's
It was me. And when I found out it was only me, because I like going, I said, well, I don't want to have to change the meeting and everything just because of me. I think the meeting before in the spring, or I think last fall, I don't think anybody went. It just seemed like if we're talking about cutting costs for citizens, that's probably one of those things that we could at least look at. And so
the
I'm
reason
continuing.
no one went is because we were trying to manage our costs and not spend extra money.
Well, I tried to go, and I backed out so that I wouldn't be the only one spending that money.
I believe our previous city administrator had signed up and was planning to go as well, but obviously life changed for him.
I would like to point out that there's separate League of Municipality meetings. There's meetings that deal more with city government, and then there's ones that deal more with utility structures as well. So not sure which one you attended, but I know they have multiple meetings throughout the year.
So last week after the budget meeting happened, I had a call from a gentleman. I'm going to use his name, Craig Hubbard. And I got chewed out for about 2 hours. That's why I haven't answered your emails, Craig, because we'd already talked of everything. So I started looking at the budget, and I went through. So if we can cut $449,504 out of the budget without doing any of Mark Funke's things, who would be in favor of that? Let's get some hands up there. Not cutting library services, not cutting hours, not cutting staff.
So why are you calling this Mark Funke's things?
Because you did cut these. Let me finish.
Based on what you all directed me to do.
That is correct, and you did a very good job. However, I took a different approach, and I started looking at it. For example, under the city administrator's budget, we have professional services budgeted right now at $15,000. I'm making a suggestion we cut it to cut it by $7,000.
Where was that?
Professional services, city administrator.
Okay, I've already cut it down to 5 from 15.
Okay.
That was item number 1 on the presentation that you obviously didn't watch.
Mr. Funke, may I finish my presentation? I did not interrupt you. And then we can adjust or we can talk about the two. I do have handouts for council. City administrator, we can cut that by 8,000. The
If you have handouts, can we see them?
Oh, I'm sorry. Pass those down there. Here's, would you hand one to Mark? Mike,
Would you grab that, please, for me, so I can see?
the city auditorium in 2020.
We need a copy of that, too. It's got to be public. This is public.
Well, I don't have enough copies, so.
Everybody here needs a copy of what you just passed out.
This is an amendment.
Publicized meeting, that wasn't publicized prior.
Well, this was.
You've got to give us a copy, or you got to put it up for it.
Excuse me for 1 second. Did the cut list go public before the meeting?
It did not.
That's what I thought. We didn't get the cut list until 3:34 this afternoon.
When I got done with it.
And
as
I
told
would
you
like
this
to make a statement here if I could. I'm not trying to cut you off, Mark, but I would like the people in the crowd to know. I got a heads up on Saturday from a kind citizen, and I appreciate everyone who sent me emails. Whether they like me or not, I don't care. If you're not nice, that's fine. I want the information. We did not have the information on the library, on the hoopla. How do I answer a question when I don't have the information that it's on the cut list? So how would I respond to a citizen about hoopla being cut when I have no idea that it's being cut? Then someone sent me a screenshot of Facebook. So somebody took the liberty of posting it. And I thank that person for posting it, because that's why all you guys are here, voicing your opinions as citizens. And that's what you're supposed to do. That way we know how you feel. And yes, what are we passing out now?
Now you have information that we don't have, just like you're complaining.
We've been there.
It was just done. Mr. Funky, do we have a copy machine to make all these good people a copy?
This has to be pre-publicized.
What's that?
More than all you make.
Here you go. Grab his. There we go. You want me to continue or you want me to wait?
I'd kind of like to wait to see what you present. Unless there's a way we can put it on.
Okay, we'll wait.
You all got up there and said, let's come together and get something done, and now they're trying to make budget cuts and discuss this, and now you want to open your mouths and tell them to give you the copy.
Why can't they put it up on the screen?
It'd be nice to see what's going on. I didn't know what the proposed library cuts were till I got here tonight.
If we could get it electronically, I don't know that we have
You
it.
said $4 million on IT, and it was $400,000 too, so if you don't have a problem with it, I'd like to see the actual facts in front of me, so that I can't have stuff regurgitated. $4 million on the IT is not the line item, it's $400,000. You should reread your budget.
Mr. Hartman, on page 241, $3,837,759.
Not 4 million, is it?
Well, close enough to 4 million for me.
Wish I had your money.
What's
Let
that?
them talk. We're waiting for this. I mean, they're talking on both sides, so what does it matter? I mean, it's all about having it out in the public.
Well, then
I mean, if they want to go outside and rest,
How are we cutting that?
they didn't get the cuts done until, I didn't get the cuts either. I mean, guys, literally, we've had budget talks since April.
Okay, can I, you want me to finish going through these or, you know? The auditorium had $23,000 in professional services. I recommend we cut 20.
What's that? All right, little order, please. We'll get copies out to everybody.
The fire department had $33,000 in professional services. I recommend we cut it by 10. The storm Water management, as you can see, they've had no expenses, $10,000 in professional services. I recommend we cut that out. They also had some advertising in there. I recommend we cut it to 10. The big cuts are from the contingency fund of $400,000. I'm saying we could cut that or recommend by $200,000. And on the other government accounts, the fire sinking fund by $100,000. And then there's some organizations here that when I've asked people, they really didn't know what they were. That totaled up to $449,504. That is $80,000 and change over what we need to cut. So now if the council wants to, we can add things back in or adjust the numbers. None of these cuts cut your services, anything. We don't want to cut services. This answers the question. This solves the problem. This should make the library stay open and the fountain on at the museum, keep the employees. I've talked to Chief Orderstroff about that. He said, well, I won't be happy. I can live with it because if I order a new truck today, it's 3 to 5 years out anyway.
Chief?
And he has $5.5 million, I think, somewhere in there, so.
Steve, can I ask a question? Since you asked Lee, did you have this conversation with Steve Huntley about cutting that? Not Lee, Troy. Did you have this conversation with Councilman Steve?
So Steve talked to me just right before the meeting. He did talk to my assistant chief at about noon today. Is when I got wind of this. And I do have some concerns about it if you'd like me to speak on it.
Well, before we do that, Steve, did you talk to our city administrator about these cuts before
I've
you
had a
talked
call
to
into the city administrator since Monday, and I called him again this afternoon, and he was out of the office. Or, excuse me, Wednesday.
So you took it upon to go out to other department heads and
I
like right
talked to
before the
Chief
meeting?
Orderstroff at the meeting. These I just did myself.
Oh, so some of these other ones, you haven't had any consult on these?
I haven't had time. I was putting them together over the weekend and finished them up late today.
Haven't we been working on the budget process since April? You couldn't have brought them up sometime?
So, yeah, none of these were proposed during our meetings, and they weren't proposed during the budget meetings, and now we're presenting it tonight.
Also, why would you go through and do this when I had my staff working extra hours the whole week to put together what you all demanded of me last Monday night? That is absolutely ridiculous.
You know, here's...
I don't even know how many hours my staff spent.
Here's the thing, though. It solves our problem without cutting services.
Well, I will.
But you told me to cut services.
I will beg to differ that cutting professional services is not in your best interest because that educates your population of your staff to be able to do things like proposed cuts. So cutting back on professional services.
Mike.
For training and services.
There is professional services listed there.
What's that?
You have listed professional services.
I
What
did.
are those? What are those professional services?
That's what I looked at.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it is. You know, I mean, this was a solution. This is an answer. This is so we don't have to cut the library, so we don't have to cut everything. You know, people in my ward, in Mike's ward, in our ward, you know, we talked about a $9 cup of coffee. To some of those people, a $9 cup of coffee is getting to work for a week. That's a tank of gas.
But didn't you ask the city administrator to cut services?
With 70%, 69 point some odd percent of our kids on free or reduced lunch.
So what I heard last week was, I don't care what we cut, we just need to cut money out of the budget. And now because you got a little pushback from some citizens, all of a sudden, no, we're not going to cut services. We don't want to harm the library and the museum. We have busted our butts this week trying to get this done, and this is what you do in the last minute? Where was this 6-8 weeks ago? Where was this work when I was asking you weekly at these meetings to provide me with information of your interest in what you want us to do. Now you want to take our contingency away so that if we have an emergency, we don't have any way to react to it? That makes a lot of sense.
We also
You're putting us below 240,000, which is what we have this year.
We also have reserves. We can also add back the
But
overcut.
we don't have reserves. They're going to run out. And you guys made that worse by lowering the levy 3 of the last 5 years. So tell me how this makes sense to do this at the 11th hour when we're up against deadlines, when none of you offered me any solutions the entire process. I have had it up to my eyeballs on this. This is ridiculous. You have fought against me the entire way. My staff is killing themselves. I got all of my employees freaking out whether they're going to have a job because you guys won't just sit down at a table and talk with us. I am done with this.
Okay. We're asking to work together.
Oh, now you are.
No. Did I not?
Now you are. You didn't all the way along and now
Excuse me. My microphone's lit up, please. I know you don't. I know you don't. I understand that. And I'm going to stay calm. You can get lit up if you want.
I think we're beyond that.
I did send you emails with questions. Did I not? I think I sent several questions. I think I even asked about the credit cards that you had on there.
Yep.
And why would the city pay a credit card fee?
Right. And look what's on the proposal.
And I see that on there. So we are working together. We are making progress. And maybe it'll be in the 11th hour. But if we can save the money without cutting the services, which is why everybody is here, because they don't want their services cut, would this not be a good idea to work together? Yeah, I know there's a lot of animosity everywhere in this room. There's a whole bunch of people in here that are angry at this group and that group, and get over it. This is life. We're all adults. We have to move on. We can't be crybabies because we're not getting our way. We got to just keep on pushing and keep on working together. Even if we don't like looking at each other, we got to continue talking and working together.
So where was the talking and working together 6-8 weeks ago? I'm not saying that these things aren't doable, but we have had no time now to vet this and make sure. Do we think we can reduce our contingency to $200,000? Is there actually any impact from taking $100,000 out of the sinking fund? It's general fund dollars. We're moving from the general fund to a different fund to buy a fire truck in the future. These would have been ideas that we would have loved to talk through.
We know, Mr. Funky, sometimes ideas come up at weird times where, when you think that, after you've looked at one problem, you look at it again from a different angle. You look at it again from a third angle. You've been doing that. I've been doing that. These didn't hit me until Saturday night.
We're still
Friday
not taking accountability, and I think that's what a lot of people voiced tonight, is that we have to take accountability for the things that we do, and we have heard it multiple times. We just had to have a conversation earlier. That's all. That's really all Mark is asking.
And the thing of it is, I've been preaching this for 3 years, Mark, and you know it. I've suggested that we go through the budget, I call it tab by tab, department by department. We did it when I was on the council the first time. It worked great. Why didn't you listen to that idea? I've been talking about that multiple times for 6 months.
Because we did it last summer and it made no difference.
I believe we did not do it last
I believe
summer.
we had every department head walk up to that podium and talk about their budgets last summer.
And then we also had our budget proposals and budget information starting in March.
Those were more information sessions. We didn't have any factual numbers.
No, departments had questions and concerns. I do remember us having conversations about fee schedules. I remember that distinctively, about, hey, this is maybe an option for us to raise the race on the city auditorium to make additional funds. We did make those decisions, and we did have those discussions with department heads this year. And at any time, we could have submitted, hey, I looked over this budget. Tell me a little bit about this. Tell me a little bit about that. Did our department heads get that information from us until now? No, we didn't.
One of the problems that has been pointed up tonight is why didn't we do it a month, 2 months, 3 months ago? The county does not finalize valuations until the end of August. So we do not have definite, solid numbers to start from until that point in time to try and come up with a budget, come up with savings. The other thing I would like to point up is that our city valuation is up 30% in 3 years. The mill levy has stayed virtually the same. So that translates into approximately a 10% budget increase every year. Is a 10% budget increase sustainable? Or is it time to look?
If you'd like accountability, I will take the brunt of all this budget fiasco. You can put it on me because it's my first budget to ever go through. I've looked through this whole book. Even if you may doubt that I've looked through the whole book, I've got a whole book at home, the other budget book, because we've got updated versions of this budget that we've received several times. Matter of fact, this one right here, we received this budget last Monday, correct? Yeah, last Monday. And this had the fee schedule to increase the dividend in it. That wasn't in there before. That came up now. So it's not a case of everything is just being decided now and we just waited to the end to hold the ball and then give it to them.
Right, and we talked
And it's
about the
not
fee
give it to
schedule.
them. Let me have another second. It's not like we're adversaries here and we're all fighting against each other.
I feel like we are adversaries and that you are all fighting against us.
And that's fine. You may feel that way, but I don't feel that way. I'm not fighting against you, Mark. I want to see Hastings better. And I would rather see that if we could do these cuts, that we could do these. When I went through the budget, I looked at health insurance and I thought that was a huge number. But I don't know if it's a huge number or not. I mean, I could have inundated you with questions on all kinds of line items from that budget.
That would have been great.
Well, next year, I'll do that. But my point is that, you know, it's easy to sit up here and blame it on somebody. We're to the point, we're past that point. We're big adults. So the blame, I'll take all the blame. So we can forget about accountability. I just took it all for everybody up here. Everybody in the room can blame it on me. And now, yeah, you didn't vote for me, but that's fine. I'll still take it. That's okay. Let's just move on to the next step of how do we make this budget proposal work? And if we can get a first vote tonight, then we get a first vote tonight.
I think it's important to remember, and I understand there's been a long process, that this is a complicated budget. If anybody's ever had to go through this, it is complicated. It's not as simple as what I got from people that come up here and talk to us about how, you know, how we present or how we cut or how we do this, that, or the other. It's not that simple. It's a complicated document that involves several different areas where the funding comes from, okay? And so you got to understand how everything intertwines with everything before you can actually figure out where things can, if you can figure it out, by the way, where things could go or not go. Now, I realize, Mark, that you have done, you did do what we asked, to cut it down to $360,000 and some odd dollars, okay? And I don't want you to take this the wrong way, okay?
I'm probably
But,
gonna.
well, I know, but let's hear me out, okay? You were given that direction last Monday, okay?
Yep,
And you worked on that last week,
yep.
okay? And so that came to us, the cuts that you proposed here tonight came to us at 3:30 this afternoon,
Correct.
okay? I'm not saying that that was your fault. I'm just saying that's when we as a council actually saw these cuts,
Yes.
okay?
And I will
So-
tell you, we worked on this all through the weekend. We met about it as a staff this morning to narrow these things down, to talk through it. And then I had another meeting, got back to the office, and got the information out to you as soon as I could once I knew what direction. So I had to update things. I mean,
I understand that, Mark, and I'm not.
You've said it's a complex budget, and I appreciate you saying that. So when you present last-minute changes, it's very difficult to get that all done.
I understand that. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming you for the 330 drop today. I'm not saying that is your fault. You did what you could in the short period of time. But everybody has to keep in mind that over the weekend, we were doing the same thing. Okay? That was just finished this afternoon before this meeting.
I totally understand.
So
My concern,
we're
I
in the
think,
same
is-
boat here is what I'm getting at.
Right, my concern is why wasn't this work done a month ago when I asked for things?
I have a concern.
Well,
I'd like to know who "we" is.
First of all,
He
we
just
didn't
said
have the
we
numbers.
worked on it all weekend. Who's "we"? I wasn't called. I wasn't talked to. Was anybody?
That's a great question. Who is
Was
we?
there anybody down here that was in on
No.
"we"?
It was conversations between council
No,
members,
you
which
weren't?
happen all the time.
I'm looking at you, Mark. You weren't in on this? Okay, so "we" is who? Who's "we"? I wasn't involved.
Steve?
I was involved. I'm
Mike-
the brain of it.
Mike was involved, Brad was involved, Larry was involved, Mark had some input.
I thought Mark just said he didn't have any input.
So we had 5 council members working over the weekend?
Let's call it quorum.
No.
No, it is
No,
not
it's not.
when you talk to individuals, you know.
There were individual conversations is what they were.
Okay, so you have a staff that gets paid well to bring you information, but you chose as a group to get together and do
No,
all
we
this
did
by
not get
yourself.
together. We
As,
did not
as
get
the
together.
staff was working diligently all through the weekend to get this done. The actual, you gave them a directive, cut services. They said, cut services. You said, well, if we cut some services, that's not all services. That's what I heard. So they cut services. They followed your directive. And then you get, as a group, outside of us, to get together and formulate your own budget. That's not the budget process, gentlemen.
It wasn't together all at the same time. There was phone conversations about where we could find them, so.
Whatever, you can say that now, that's not what you said before.
You're still acting outside of the scope of the council. You're formulating your own budget when you have a staff that's paid to do that. All you have to do is present questions to them and dialogue. We've been doing this, gentlemen, since March and April. This is unbelievable. It's unprecedented. We did this last year. I remember sitting in the crowd as a candidate for mayor and listening to this show last year at the last minute. And now we're doing it again. When we started the budget process months earlier, and I would argue to anybody that this has been the most transparent budget by this staff that's ever occurred in this city. But yet you chose to sit on the outside and take your own position and come here with your own budget. I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous.
Jay, it's not our own budget, there's our own.
Got 5.
It wasn't our own budget, it was suggested cuts. For the city.
Suggested by who? I'd like to know who
You know,
suggested
city
it.
council people are supposed to have ideas that go out to people so that we can find ways to work together.
I'm just asking,
That's all the
suggested
more
by
that it
your
was.
constituents?
That's all the more that it was.
Or by a small group?
My constituents have said to me for a long time, what can we do to cut the budget? So, you know, it's one of those things
Is that the constituents that showed up at the one ward meeting or the Ward 1 meeting?
I talk to people all the time in my ward in various conversations.
I'm just
okay?
trying to figure out
It's-
where we
you know, it's-
came
you know,
from.
Well,
Here's
Because
the
I think
thing,
it's
at
we
least
up
we
here.
have ward meetings. Mr. Mayor, when are you gonna have a town hall?
Your Ward 1 meeting
right.
had nobody from Ward 1 in it. I can say, out of everybody in there, that nobody
We
from Ward
can't
1 was
control
there.
who comes.
President headed this whole illegal thing up.
Can I, so just from the outside, we're looking a little bit shaken, I would say, correct? So I think as a council, we need to have some open dialogue about these changes. And so I think I want to give credence here a little bit to Mr. Steve Hunley about this because he generated, but he doesn't have the context behind it. You don't know what professional services for the city administrator is. You don't know what Auditorium 40 professional services are. You don't know what the contingency funding is for. maybe these questions need to be asked before you start situating, well, I think I found some money here. There's no questioning of city staff except for one individual over here from our chief on the sinking fund for fire trucks. That's all. So we don't even know what the context of this, because we haven't worked with staff on this. So they don't even understand what you're asking to be cut. I wish we would have.
I've had a call into Mr. Funky since Wednesday.
Yeah, so you're proposing, yeah, I get it. You're proposing some cuts here, but you don't know what they are. And you had the entire city staff working on these budgets. So you just picked line items and said, well, that one looks good. This will get us to the 400,000. Well, why don't I just pick out the airport hangar and say, let's scrap that sucker, because that's going to cover all of this. I just don't understand. We all understand we're setting on funds for that airport hangar. Nothing's been done with it. But we're proposing to cut the library services, auditorium professional services, a sinking contingency fund, which might have some insurance liabilities to it. So I would highly suggest this get on the same table when it comes to these budget reviews, and listen to our city staff first and foremost on what they're cutting. I am not in favor of any of these library services to be cut. I'm more in favor of cutting our airport hangar that I just agreed to keep that library and keep our kids happy. Because first and foremost, that's how I land. Because I do not want, in fact, I want more. We talk about cuts. I want more services to our library. I want more services to our museum. I want more nonprofits to get active in this community. I want more businesses to be active in this community. And that takes a proactive approach and risk, not cutting all the time. So we need to, I thank you for this, but I do need to have questions behind this. And I'm betting half the staff are now scrambling to figure out what this $20,000 is that's being cut, because they don't know, because we just got it.
We just got the ones from Mr. Funky also.
But detailed. They were going to cut hours on Saturday. They were going to cut hoopla. They were going to cut the Hollywood films, which, by the way, are good. I like going to them, but because it's cheaper. It's a city service. It's a cheaper service to go watch a film a month later, right? So I see the details that our city employees went into to create this budget. But I would much rather cut something that's hypothetical. We don't even have a jet yet. I would rather see us reduce that. I don't know how much did we spend? It's like $700,000 we're setting on the side for that thing.
$750,000.
I would rather make an amendment to cut that sucker, keep our libraries open, and let's talk about this in the next budget cycle.
So that's your recommendation, to cut the jet hangar?
That is I would love to do that. I'm sorry to the airport authority out here, but I think we can hold off for another year on this airport. I love our airport. I know we're going through a lot of changes with the curtain and a lot of the other things that have to be updated, but let's see if we can get someone knocking on our door on a jet first, because I think that's important. And if something comes along in the next year or so, we have the ability to make some of those movements later. Right now, we have to make a budget decision. And I see that money sitting there that we need to probably attack.
So other than the jet hangar, what else would you cut?
Oh, the credit card transactions. Although I kind of disagree with it, we should just include it in the fees and cover that cost. But it's the price of cost. Yes, you're right. But I get angry every time I see on a credit card charge at the bottom of my statement that they're charging back the 2.5%, or I ask for cash or charge, which is more, and I hate the gas prices that say it too. But if it comes down to nickels and dimes or the cup of coffee, things like the credit card is a great thing to cut in that listing. I don't like any of the others. I mean, why are we even considering a safety award cut? By gosh, I want my team to be safe. or the cost of a demolition. Like, we need to get rid of unsafe houses. I had one in my ward this year, and it took almost 8 months for it to get through the process of legal challenges, but the city ends up having to scrap that sucker because the people leave. So is that unsafe in that environment? You bet it is. Some kid's gonna run into it, or some kid's gonna go discover in it, or a dog gets trapped in it. So I think there's some things to be considered here, and I think the staff has done a pretty good job. I mean, if there's some professional services they wish to cut in this, but I would rather not cut professional services. I would rather cut a hanger out of this discussion now, because it could be another year and a half before that hanger even gets a blueprint or a drawing to it, or an investor to come in to even look at it. So can we agree that the airport hangar would get us out of a little bit of a problem right now? I think it would.
I would echo a lot of your sentiments, Brian. I also agree that unfortunately, because we just approved it a few months back, the jet hangar, cutting that from the budget at this time does make the most sense. My major concern looking at the budget review that Councilman Huntley provided is that all of these, for the most part, are investments in our people. And if we want to grow as a community, I know a little bit about this. If we want to grow as a community, we have to invest in our people and our place. And if these things are cut, we are saying to specifically our city employees in this instance that we don't want to invest in them. I'm not okay with that. I will never be okay with that. I personally invest a lot of time in this community long before council. It's a community I deeply love, and I'm very glad to be raising my family and rebuilding a business here. Things that were just provided to us, as well as the proposals that were presented tonight by Mr. Funky, are very concerning for me. They don't help our community, and I think we can all agree on that. So I know I'd like everyone to speak, but I feel most comfortable at this time, being all that said, that we cut the jet hangar at this time for right now, and we revisit later, but that would solve the situation we're in right now.
We have two proposals that came tonight, both of them late. Why can't we sit down as adults and talk about it, put it together?
I'd like to see that, because it seems to me like the dramatic effect of cutting museum and library is to bring about a sentiment against the decision makers. And I'm very much against a budget where we cut those sorts of things.
No, that is not accurate, and that is not fair. The reason that we cut services is twofold. One, I have been telling you for a long time that we have cut what we could cut, and once we get beyond that, we were going to be impacting services. And two, you told me last week to cut services. So I'm not putting up with that. You're not going to put this on us like the staff is out to get you. That is ridiculous, and it needs to stop now.
Well, I'm not for a budget that you proposed where we cut museum and library.
Then why didn't you say that last week?
I did not know that was an option in your brain.
When you heard services, what did you think that meant? Since you've gone through the budget and you understand what we're doing, what does services mean on the general fund? We have told you that we are a service-oriented budget. That's what your taxpayer dollars go for. So what do you think those services are? You don't want us to cut public safety, so that leaves museum, library, parks. That's what got proposed here tonight. So you tell me, what do you think services mean? Because I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, you had mentioned lawn mowing at the parks. So,
And we looked at it.
whatever the services were, I think specifically we said we would look at them once you proposed them. Because we
But I
didn't
didn't
know
even
what.
get a chance to do that. You guys went behind my back and proposed your own stuff because you got pushback from the community.
Okay, Mark, you put up the services that you had proposed being cut. We didn't say that we were going to cut those services. We said we need to know what those proposals are to be cut. I wouldn't blindly cut services and just say, okay, you throw up the services to be cut and then we're just going to vote for it.
Right, and
I wouldn't
everything
do
that you saw tonight said proposed budget cuts.
Yes.
Not defined budget cuts. My problem is, I don't have a problem with the ideas that you've proposed here. Some of them probably would be okay. Some of them I think are challenges. Like we can talk about contingency. Roger has some comments about that. The problem is why did this take so long to get to this place? I have been trying to work with you for months. We should have never gotten to a place that we had to talk about services at all. Because I've been talking about services being in jeopardy the entire process.
Well, I would say that I'm not a budget professional. I'll be the first to admit
No,
that.
but you guys don't want to listen to the professionals.
No, I have listened, but if any of these proposals, as I said, low-hanging fruit, if any of these proposals that you have on that paper from Mr. Huntley are options, then those are options that have been on the table since the budget process started.
Right, so, okay, so let's talk through these items, because I can address a few of these. The city administrator professional services, I've already proposed a cut that's deeper than what's there. City attorney professional services, those dollars are for the attorney to stay current on all of his legal requirements. We can't necessarily cut all of that out. We didn't just put it in there for fun. Auditorium professional services, Jeff, I don't know if you have a comment on that. That was one I had a question about.
So that's a contract that we had quoted out to us to improve the electrical at the auditorium. It's been identified by engineering and safety that the electrical needs to be upgraded at the auditorium. So that was a contract.
Right. Fire, professional services, you see that number went up from 19,000 something to 33,000. You may have recognized from some of the conversations we've had about fire, we have a very young professional fire service, and those firefighters need training so that they can do their job safely and effectively for our community. I did not cut that on purpose because I want to make sure that the fire department has money to get the training that they need for our new firefighters. So don't tell me I haven't gone through the budget. That's what I'm saying there. Stormwater service, professional management, professional services, that's a contingency holder in case we have any issues with stormwater. It's a budget line item that we have to put in every year. It cannot be cut. Management advertising, I don't know exactly what all of that one is. That's not one I looked at. Lee, do you know?
So I just want to point out first on the stormwater, we have cut 20% from that budget from last year. We did cut $11,000 already. That professional services, we are part of a group with other first-class cities that look at our stormwater management. And so we thought that this year they were going to group together and do one review of our code. And that didn't happen, so we put it in again for next year in case that does happen. The advertising, that is something that we're required to do for our MS4 permit. So those are the advertisements you hear on KHAS radio. Some of that, it's mandatory to keep our permit up and educate people about stormwater.
Roger, do you want to speak about contingency?
Yeah, just real quick on contingency. So we talk about all the way through the budget process, one of the biggest challenges is budget versus actual spend. You have to have budget authority so that you're not continually bringing the budget back for amendments. So what we actually spend during the year and what we budget is usually two different numbers. Contingency is that one line item that when I look at balancing the budget, I'm not looking at spending contingency because that's an emergency fund. So to cut 200,000 does not save anything dollar-wise out of the budget because that's just a placeholder for an emergency that if that doesn't happen, I haven't counted that as an expense that's going to be spent because we don't know of anything. So there's no real savings in cutting contingency. And if I didn't explain that very well, I'd be glad to give it another shot. But that's That's taking 200,000 out of a placeholder. That doesn't really equate to any dollars saved if you're trying to come up with that $360,000 of savings.
We've already talked about the fire sinking fund. The other things, the dues and memberships, some of those things we need to do. I don't know what to tell you. You don't want to support the chamber, that's fine. I guess people talking here tonight didn't make any difference, so.
I saw Matt's mic. Did I see your mic come on? It's time.
So, thank you for doing an overview of this. Obviously, I was not supportive of the budget that was presented. I will not support that budget that was presented tonight with those cuts. Also, you know, hey, I appreciate having some additional ideas. I also will not support additional ideas unless they've been vetted by the professionals who are actually managing those budgets. And so I think as I think maybe we just reviewed here, thank you for having kind of a quick attention to what these budget areas are and the dollars associated in all of those areas. I think it's important for us to have real consistent information with what these budget realities are. And so they're not just pie in the sky numbers. These are investment dollars that every single person in our community gives as tax dollars. And so these investments are then used in a variety of ways. And so these are hard decisions. These are hard areas for us to make sure that we're investing these dollars wisely. And so I'm just really disappointed in the fact that, again, I've sat here for 6 years. And I'm disappointed in the fact that over the course of the last 2 years in particular, it does always come to generally a screaming match right at the end of September. If any of you have been following City Council news over the course of the last 6 years that I've been sitting here, that's never a place that I'm very comfortable with. And so I hate this. I hate the fact that we're sitting up here, and I hate the fact that we're dragging community members here to advocate for different parts of our community. I think it's horribly unfortunate. I think we're not doing our jobs, because we have had, over the course of the last 6 months, so much time to sit and talk about and review and discuss these budgets. We had more time than we've ever had over the course of my 6 years to be able to say, hey, these are pointed conversations. These are going to be hard conversations. We've got to figure out how we can trim dollars out of the budget. And so we sat and we listened through all of those conversations, and we never offered up solutions until tonight. And so then those solutions that we offered up here tonight, they don't really matter. And so I do feel like we have just got to do better, you guys. And so we've got to do better about trusting our city staff, our department managers who are managing those budgets. I actually don't think there's a lot of juice to squeeze out of our department budgets, because we've never given them more juice to put in their budgets to begin with. And so we've got to do better about being honest about our conversations. We've got to be better about playing the gotcha game. And so sitting up here and trying to point fingers at whose fault it is every single time we have a discussion. And so we've got to do better. We have 14 months that we still have to sit up here together. And so we've got to figure out a way to figure out how we can move projects forward for the community, because that's what the people out there told us we had to do. And so we have to figure out a way to do better by our community.
I would like us to make some action, if it's possible. I think I made a reasonable suggestion on cutting an airport hangar. I think the ideas of removing that credit card fee is a great idea. I don't want us to remove any of the other services that are listed on Mark's proposal. Thank you for generating them. But I think we need to make some action. I think publicly we can do that. To listen, and am I hearing any disagreement on the airport hangar? Does anybody want to keep that lingering around?
I do.
Can I ask you, can you bring it back in 14 months?
We actually okayed it. Mr. Hartman, was it a year ago? Mr. Hartman, can you hear me? I just asked, I think we brought that up a year ago, didn't we, sir?
Yeah.
We've already waited a year.
Yeah, and we still haven't done anything with it. So we've reserved the cash for it, and we're gonna reserve the cash again. And I'm in favor of it, Mark. I really am, because I know the return on the investment, when that trigger pulls, can we pull the trigger, right? That's the idea, is that if we get an investor on a jet, that the possibilities of getting return funding from the federal government to help pay for that, plus the revenue it would bring in, is our idea. I will agree with that, right? But we haven't moved on that. We don't have a buyer currently. We don't have we don't have a jet waiting to get in there. We might have had some entertainment on that, but is our airport authority person here, or can they give us an update on like
I
where
think
that
Matt
is?
is here, he was earlier. I would like to point out that if we're assuming revenue, I don't think we can do that. The FAA has been cut with air traffic controllers. The federal government is constantly looking at funding. I can't sit here tonight and guarantee that when we get a jet and a hangar, that's when the funding would change and our regional status would change. But if there is no funding, if the federal government does not continue that at the same level it has historically done, I asked Mr. Curran, maybe he can speak to this if he comes up. What would we do if we didn't get a jet but we had a hangar? And he said, well, we'd try to rent it out and maybe put a half dozen planes in it if that's possible. I said, okay, well, what's that generate? About $1,500 a month. That's 42 to 43 years before we would have the hangar paid off.
Or until like a jet came and like.
Or
yes,
until
yes,
a
yes.
jet came and then
So
potentially there was more revenue.
Yeah, we're talking the hypotheticals here, right? I have a budget we got to get fixed tonight. I want to help fix that. So I get where we want to go. Matt, can you answer that?
I just
mean,
wanted to make sure that I said that out loud because
Yes, I agree with you.
I don't think that we should base our hope on money that we don't have.
Correct.
I fully want the jet hangar. That is not something that I think is a bad idea. But I think where we were when this was first proposed and how things looked and how the federal government is behaving now, we're in a different world. And so I don't think we can rely on that funding. And if that's what we're using for some of our rationale as to how fast we can pay that back to the city, that's a slippery slope. And I don't want it coming back later that we said we were going to get funding and then we're not, and all of a sudden the city staff is liars again.
Yeah.
Can I ask maybe a silly question, and maybe this is a question for you, Matt? If we were to secure a jet, is there a possibility that they would actually build their own hangar? Is that normal?
We did set forth parameters to have that done, so that if somebody did want to move here and build a hangar on leased ground, they could do that. We do have that put together.
Matt, do you currently have any bids for a jet?
Well, where we were not too long, a year ago, I was told that that we had a hangar in the budget. And at that time, I was given direction to, as soon as we got a jet or a commitment from a jet to come, that I could build it. And then we came back and decided that you gave me permission to go ahead and build it and see what we could get going, which I did. Start on that. I have already spent money for engineering for the building so that we can get that thing started and built. So I do have money spent already out of that line to get that going, a contract. So that's where that is, but it's hard to get anything here until we have an actual hangar, to be honest.
So we've spent some engineering, but we don't have an RFP or a bid on this item, so it's technically, we haven't voted to have it here yet, is that correct? I mean,
I do not have a jet
we just
to move
approved
here
the
right now.
budgeted line item. What's the estimated engineering cost right now?
49.5.
49.5?
Right, remember the resolution gave us authority to move forward, so
Yep.
that's what
What I did.
Matt
That's
has
it.
done.
That's where I've gotten to at this point.
Are we going to have an impromptu hearing on the hangar again? Because if so, there's some things I'd like to add.
No, I think this is just for information for the budget at this time.
So after that last meeting, basically, I worked on moving forward to get the engineering going so that we could get it at least out for bid so we could get it built. That was the direction I was given.
Mark, is there already funds in the hangar fund?
The hangar fund is the general fund. There is no hangar fund.
Is there money there?
Yes, we have $13 million in our cash reserves. That's where that money will come from.
That's the difference of the airport will get if we get that jet hangar built though. It's an income source that will give back. I think that's important for everybody to remember. This isn't just something we're building to utilize. It increases the income for the airport dramatically. You know those numbers exactly. I think it's important to bring that up right now. Before we start chopping that kind of money away, remember that our potential investment there, I mean, this would be like selling our stocks to Apple way too soon.
It allows us to increase our status, and it allows us to compete for more federal funds. That it does do. Again, Mark is correct. Things have changed. You know, with the way the current administration is, in the past, the amount was $150,000 additional per year in extra BIL money, and that actually is sunsetting in a couple years. I don't know what will come after that. I will be totally honest about it. But what it will do, it will allow us, when we get a jet and we become a regional airport, it would allow us to compete for more federal funds for the airport, yes. And it is a revenue generating building for the airport, or for the city. That is true.
All of the different things that we would have to do in order to become the next tier of an airport, which I believe is called regional, correct?
Correct.
Everything except for the jet hangar, what all else needs to be done except for jet hangar?
We've completed all of those except
Every
for a
single other thing except for the jet hangar.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Matt?
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Matt. So where do we go from here?
Well, I would say, Brian, I agree with you. If we're not going to be guaranteed a revenue on that, and if that is going to help with our budget problem, that I would be in favor of taking that off of the budget.
So I guess, if I can interrupt, I guess it sounds like there's maybe some consensus on the jet hangar removal. So if that's something that two council people want to do, the appropriate action to take a vote just on that would be motion to amend ordinance 4809 to exclude $750,000 for the jet hangar. If we have a motion and a second on that, then you can just vote on that item, if that's the will of council.
What about the resolution that's already on the books? What do we do with that?
Well, the ordinance that council passes every time always says in the bottom, has some boilerplate language saying that any previously passed resolution or laws or anything else on the books are repealed or are no longer effective, as the bottom. So that would effectively repeal that ordinance by including this in, repeal that resolution by passing this ordinance with that amendment.
So the money that's already spent, that would reduce that 750, right? So it would be less than 750 because of whatever's been spent on bid, or not bids, but design?
I would say 700,000 is probably the right number there.
So if we take that hangar off the list, that takes care of your 360,000 and some odd dollars, and then there's no other.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And then we would be ahead about another 300,000, 350,000.
What do you mean be ahead?
We're taking 700,000 off when we
Oh,
only needed
okay.
360,000.
Okay.
So could,
All right, so that seems to me like a reasonable option, mainly because we don't have any guarantees that it's going to generate anything anytime soon, or are we going to have a buyer, so to speak, to be in there? So that's, I guess we'll leave it for more discussion on that, but I would be in favor of doing that.
Can I just make one clarification? If you're removing that item from the 26 budget, it would be removing 750,000, because at the time we put the budget together, we had not expended any funds yet. So the 49.5 will be paid out of this current year, but the line item in next year's budget is still 750,000 that would be removed.
Another question. So if this was to be taken off for this year, but then added back on in future years, do we have to redo the engineering? Or is that 49.5?
No, we don't, we'll go with that agreement, so we're
Okay.
good.
Yeah, I mean, if we get 5, 10 years down the road, yeah, we would probably have to redo it. But if it happens within a couple of years, we're probably good.
So if we eliminate the hangar, does that also eliminate the additional 500,000 from utilities?
No, that, the 500,000 from utilities, I assume you're speaking about the dividend.
Right.
Is a proposal for you all to consider. It has not been adopted at this time. So it is not in existence until you all approve it.
But it's in the fee schedule, right?
Right, but you could not do that if you don't want it to be in the fee schedule. It has not been approved by council. It is a recommendation, a proposal for you all to consider to try to address the needs that we have in our general fund to cover municipal costs.
The other thing in that listing that I think we kind of have consensus on is the sales tax pass on, not the sales tax, the credit card transaction fees going to the customer. Is that something that I'm in favor of passing it on to the citizen that wishes to charge on a card.
I'm in favor of that as well. I know a lot of people do that, so I don't know why we would not.
But that does not affect when somebody's using like their account and routing number.
No,
Okay.
I don't believe so. It's only on credit cards.
That's a swipe at the museum.
Yep.
That's a swipe at the
Yeah,
Ox
it's
Court.
like water park, museum. I think police has a little bit. I don't remember what all I said on my. Development services, library, police, museum. It also would impact landfill and possibly utilities. I don't know if they do that in customer services. I didn't dig into it because it wasn't impacting the general fund where we're trying to come from, but I know we do that at landfill for sure, and I think we do at utilities as well.
If I could add with the utilities, there's the dynamic of that people have already used those services. One thing the credit card does help us with is our uncollectibles. We've looked into that a couple different times. As credit card usage continues to grow, it's getting to where it's not as beneficial, but there is a little bit of a trade-off there.
We do not have to include landfill or utilities in this if you just want to consider the departments that I presented in the proposal.
Certainly, we're allowed to pick and choose some of the options that you gave us to choose from, correct, sir?
You can choose
Like the
whatever
credit card
yep,
fees.
you can choose whatever you'd like.
My question was about the airport hangar. Just, are there any other additional sources of funding that we could go to or that we could evaluate as it relates to helping to support that upfront investment cost?
So basically, our issue currently with the grants and things that I have been getting from the federal government, from the state, have been covering the dilapidation of the current apron, which we just had to fill another hole. We put more concrete in that, so we're Band-Aiding that along. We have a lighting system that is in dire straits that we are trying to push through and get something done, and begging basically the government to help us with that. So it doesn't allow us to go out and use those funds currently for hangars when we have other things that are so big. The other thing that I do just want to say a little bit is this hangar idea is not a unique thing to what I'm trying to accomplish here in Hastings. There are a lot of other cities that are out there building hangars of big sizes currently so that they can get ahead and try to secure more bigger aircraft, even down to Fairbury. Fairbury just built a nice big 80 by 80 in Fairbury, and now they're wanting to put up another one because they filled it so fast. So I don't want to look like I'm not, I have a pipe dream here. This is something that really is going on across the state where we do have a lot of airports that are building hangars. This is not just something that I come up with, as a pipe dream. So,
Sure.
But I do wanted to make that clear.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Yep.
So if we did the credit card and on the hangar, do we have to take all of the money from the hangar, or can we leave part of the money in the hangar and take part out to pick up the hoopla, the museum,
Absolutely.
all those other services that we were gonna?
All we really have to do is cover the 360,000. So if you wanted to just take off the other items that you're considering, plus whatever is left to cover that, then we could leave the balance so they could continue moving on the hangar, phase some things out, whatever that looks like. Yeah, it's
So
an
if something
excellent
came up later, you could bond the rest of it if you had to,
Yeah,
or
we could
or
bring
take
it back
out
to
of cash.
council for approval to utilize funds. I mean, there are some options, but that would at least keep us moving on the project if that's where you all want it to go.
Okay.
That's maybe a happy medium.
My opinion would be, thank you for all the efforts. I'm not knocking anybody. But I wouldn't want to cut that many services. But I think if we could reduce the fund in the jet hangar to pick up that difference, pick up that credit card, get the credit card fee back out to whoever's using the card. And I don't know if there's any other cuts in here in the list that was presented tonight, but I mean, if there's 10,000 in there, there's 10,000. Whatever it is, if we could use it, we can use it. If we can't, we can't.
Right. I honestly, I am very comfortable with any of the operating costs that I presented, the professional services, training, conferences, safety awards, activity guide. I'm comfortable with any or all of those. That is overhead and operating costs, and would not impact services to do any of those things.
So here's an off question, but since you mentioned the activity guide,
Yes.
one of my issues is with the public service channel. Is that funded? That's not funded out of the city, is it?
I think we do give some funds to HPAC. Eric, you want to address that? It's not a ton of money, but
Yeah,
it is.
Roger can help me with this a little bit, but there is some out of our franchise agreement that they get as an annual fee. We also do pay approximately $7,000 to them to support their line fee so that they can get data to the Spectrum.
Okay. I was just wondering if we could maybe improve that somewhere down the line, because some people do enjoy watching these council meetings instead of coming to them.
I would love to help in that. HPAC is independently operated as an independent 501c3, so I can push recommendations to them and do that. I know they're working on trying to get live streaming going again, but there are technical issues with that. But that's really on them. I can encourage. That's about as much as I can do.
Okay,
Eric,
thank
do
you.
we see any possible improvement by when we get into City Hall?
It'll be the same issue because
It's the
it's
same,
still,
okay.
we're separate locations.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that would improve things or not.
Do we have a number on if we did eliminate the credit card fees? If we did exclude the landfill and utilities? Do we know
Landfill and
what-
utilities are not in that $18,000.
Oh, they're not. Okay, perfect.
And
Thank you for the
just to
clarification.
reiterate, so we're very clear, that is the number that it would be starting January 1st so that we could communicate out to customers and make sure we're very open about this change because while we have a lot of the city here, we don't have everybody.
Administrative professional services, the cut proposed is $10,000. Administrating training and conferences, $5,000. Safety awards, $7,500. Credit card fees, $18,000. And maybe possibly a demolition for $50,000. Throwing that out.
Honestly, whatever council wants to put together to get the dollars.
I don't think you want to do away with the demolition because we want to make sure we get them old buildings out of here when they need to be out of here.
I agree with that.
I go back to the hangar. I think that's the most logical thing to do at this point, and that's, again, I think that's where we should go.
Could we say here tonight that we support the hangar project, but as a 2-year project? And so not all of the dollars in 1 year, but spread that budget dollar amount out over the next 2 fiscal years.
I'm good with that as well.
So just cut it in half. So then it's $350 for the upcoming budget year and $350,000 the year after.
I think
$375 each year, but I get
Well,
you.
I think that's reasonable. That takes care of the problem that we have. Although I think it's not a bad problem. We're reducing the taxpayers by a little bit every year, and every little bit may not be a whole lot for some, but it is for others. So I think that's a fair deal.
So,
I was just going to ask Jesse if you could, again, provide me the recommended suggested amendment to just reduce the,
So
Just for the jet hangar, correct, at this point, is what you're going for this? So I guess if I'm hearing you correctly.
Do we need to also include the credit card transaction fees?
I'd almost do that as two separate votes, just so
Okay.
this council has different opinions on that. They can
Wanna make sure it's
vote
clean.
the whole thing down,
Yep,
kind
fine.
of thing, if they have different opinions, because I could see council having different opinions on those two topics. So I guess I would recommend regarding the airport hangar, motion to amend ordinance number 4809, removing the jet hangar in the amount of $375,000.
I would make that motion to amend ordinance number 4809, amending, removing the jet hangar amount down to $375,000.
Second.
Motion by Fong, second by Esch. Is there any more discussion?
So this is just an amendment.
And just one amendment associated with just the jet hangar at this time.
Right, related to this year's budget, or
Correct.
next year's budget.
So even if we accept some of Mark's proposed cuts, we still want, you're still saying this thing we're talking about is still saying a full 375, even though all we ever asked for was 360.
Correct. So right now, we're still talking about the budget. This is the first proposed amendment, which is the 375. If you want to do any of the other cuts, we would have to address those in additional amendments.
Additional amendments, okay?
Yes, does that
So
make sense?
375 and those others.
Right now, it's just the 375.
It's just the 375.
That's what I mean. I
Yeah.
mean 375 now.
Yes.
And we'll do a vote, and then each of the others,
Correct.
which means we probably wouldn't need the 375 if we're going to take off some others, because we only asked for 360 to begin with. We're already 15 over.
That's true.
Okay.
First and second, any other discussion?
Jay, everybody wants to be the mayor.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to call for a bathroom break
I
here
don't
pretty
have
soon.
I don't have any discussion on this. We'll go to vote here in a second. I just want to make sure everybody understands, I'm not a fan of last-minute decisions. Last-minute decisions historically in my life have ended up not good. So with that, I've heard several mentions made tonight that we're not budget experts up here, and I think we've shown that. I would like to introduce my council to 12 budget experts out here in front of you. It's called your city staff. And I suggest in the future, when we come to budgets, let's use them, okay? My major concern tonight is not the outcome of what is going to happen here. It's the process that we used to get here. We gave a directive to cut services, which the staff performed. When members of the city council got pushback from members of the city, residents, that's when we decided to go outside the scope of our city staff and of our council and make our own budget proposal, which, quite frankly, has a couple items on it that could probably make something happen here in the future. But not tonight, it's too late. And when that pushback came to the council, then we made this list, and this is what I would call saving face, okay? And I don't like that. I don't think that should be the process of how this budget is done. And in the future, in next year's budget, I would like to get this budget done without another issue like we had tonight as we had last year. With that, I would like you to vote.
I want to say something.
I'm good. Just vote, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Vote.
the thing we just did was the same thing I did on the list.
Yeah, but right in front of everybody.
Except-
All we had to do is do this at a better time. Let's go ahead and vote. Okay, the budget passes 7-1. Let's
Just amendment, the
just
first amendment. That's
just
all
the
that's
first
passed.
amendment, which is the 375 for the budget, for the hangar.
For the hangar, correct.
Okay, now, do we have further?
This is now give you
Yeah.
the opportunity if someone wants to.
So I'll make a motion to remove the credit card fees of $18,000 from the city budget and turn that over, covering the fees as the fees would be covered by the person charging,
And so to be clear, that would exclude landfill and utilities,
excluding
correct?
landfill and utilities.
I will second that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was in La La Land. First by Hoffman, second by Brad Consbrook. And this is for the 18,000? Okay, any discussion?
Since we already cut more than $360,000 from the budget, which is what we needed to cut, what if we just don't charge our citizens for their credit card fees? Now we know this is something we can consider next year if we need to, but I would honestly feel better about just leaving the cut at that $375,000 at this time.
I'm good in favor of, we're home, let's get this done. Okay?
But there's a motion and a second, so we should probably go ahead and vote unless there's
Okay,
further discussion.
so let's go ahead and, if there's no further discussion, 18,000 in credit card fees. It's to cut that credit card fee.
So that the citizen now has to pay it.
How about the credit card fees we already have to pay at development services?
Shall we vote? I don't know.
Restate the motion, Jesse.
Is it adding or deleting it? Do you,
Is deleting the revenue stream of $18,000, which is the anticipated from the city absorbing the credit card fees that we currently, which is what we currently.
So we already
So we'd be
absorb.
charging, we would be charging the citizen a credit card fee on all transactions, except for utilities and landfill.
Right.
And the
It's an-
motion
It's an
is-
expense that the city is covering for the citizen at this time.
okay,
So it
so
will
the
come out
motion is
development
yes or no?
services.
It'll cover development services.
It will come
Development
out.
Services does have credit card fees as part of their budget.
Well, they already have the fee, so.
So it would remove it from Development Services and all would pass it on to the customer.
I thought the motion was to remove it from.
That's what I'm confused on. And it's about 3%, right? Isn't it about around there?
Yeah, whatever the credit
Whatever
card
the
is,
credit
2.5%,
card fees are.
3%. Yeah.
So if a yes vote means we have the,
Pass the fee on to the citizen.
a yes vote means we pass the fee on to the citizen. A no vote means we do not pass the fee
Right.
on
The
to the
city
citizen.
continues to pay the fee.
The city continues to pay the fee. Okay? So no is the city continues to pay the fee. Yes is pass the fee on to the citizen. Are we crystal clear?
Thank you.
Vote. That measure passes 6-2. Okay, is there any other amendments?
Is that when we?
4809.
Is that when we bring up now those administrative services that Mark had proposed?
Yep, if you wish to
And I have to pick
consider
one
those.
at a time, correct?
It's how council wants to do it. I mean, you can't, if they're smaller fees, that may be worth to put them
Okay.
together, but that's your call.
Sorry, can I speak before we make an amendment? Why are we continuing to cut when we just solved our problem? Why are we continuing to cut? I like really want to know. I don't know why we're continuing to cut when we just figured out the 360,000.
So if we continue to cut, can we reduce the dividend? There's a dividend yet. This isn't it. If we continue to cut, does that affect the dividend increase or not?
No.
No.
No? That's completely separate? All right.
Correct. And again, has not been approved, so it is not anything to be considered at this time. We'll talk about it with the fee schedule.
So do we want to continue on with further cuts, or do we want to stay where we're at?
I would agree with Maggie on this one. We've covered the amount that we needed to cover, and the proposals were just that, proposals. And I think we've picked what we can to cover that, and It's all, any of this was a proposal to try and fix the problem. And so I would say that, as far as I'm concerned, we've fixed that, and we should move on to our next item.
So we're good with 4809?
Well, I believe I'm still allowed to make a motion here, aren't I?
Correct.
Mr. Jesse, would that be correct? Then I'd like to make a motion, whether people second it or not, to remove administrative services as Mark Funke had proposed of 10,000, administrative training and conferences of 5,000.
Motion by Rowan, second by Anderson, to remove those two line items. Any questions on that?
I would just, my reservation on that is to my same point earlier. Those are investments in our people, which only allow our experts in the room to continue to be experts in what they do and continue to grow and develop. And if we want our community to grow, I don't know how else to say that, we have to invest in it, and we have to invest in our people. If we're not investing, we're not growing.
Okay, is there any more discussion on that? So, motion on the floor is to remove,
professional services in the amount of $10,000 and admin training and conferences in the amount of $5,000 for a total of $15,000.
okay, is everybody clear? A yes vote removes it. A yes vote removes it, okay. Please vote. This passes 5-3. And let's see, is there anything, are we done with 4809?
We still, if there's no more amendments, we still have to
We still
vote
have to
on
pass the actual
budget.
4809.
That's still, we had a first and a second on
It's
that
still on the
already.
floor.
We made the amendment, so
We're
all
just
we need to do
working
is
underneath
vote.
it right now.
Okay.
It's just,
Yep, so if there's no further amendments of council, they don't want to cut anything else or change anything else, then we're at a point where, and no further discussion just on the budget in general, then we're at a point where we can vote on the approval of ordinance 4809.
So none of the other cuts proposed tonight are on the board?
that's correct.
Okay.
So, and I would like to point out, just for everyone's, I've been running a tally here of this, we are at $408,000 that you all are cutting.
Well, if we're at 480, maybe we can put a little money back.
408,
Yeah,
408,000.
408,000,
Oh.
sorry, if I
Okay.
misspoke that.
Well, it's still $40,000. Maybe we could put that back towards jet hangar amount.
Or maybe we could get rid of credit card fees on our citizens. We voted to lower the levy to allow more money, or I didn't vote to lower the levy, but it was passed to lower the levy so that we could put more money in our citizens' pockets. And right now, we just voted, we literally just voted to take more money out of our citizens' pockets. So I just really think we have to think about the things that we're doing and how they contradict one another. I mean, that's happened multiple times. I'm just seeing it a lot tonight. So we really need to think about the way that we're voting and how it impacts our community.
Cash or check, no fee. Right? Okay.
Are we going to vote? And this is on the amended motion?
This is on the amended motion.
This is on the-
This is, yes.
So-
Ordinance 4809.
Ordinance 4809, we're going to vote.
Yep, this is first.
First reading. Please vote. Amended 4809 passes 7-1. Okay, and thank you to everybody out there living our budget
This is what, this
discussions.
was an ordinance on first reading, so just saying you can suspend
Okay.
the rules if council wants to, just putting it out there that it will come
Okay.
back to another meeting if we don't.
Yeah, I'll
suspend
make a
the rules.
motion to suspend the rules and go to second and final reading.
Second.
Motion by Hoffman, second by Esch to suspend the rules. Please vote. That passes 7-1. Let's move on to a resolution, item number 2, resolution number 2025-27, adopting the 2025-26 annual fee resolution.
I'll motion to approve resolution number 2025-27, adopting the 2025-2026 annual fee resolution.
As amended, please.
As amended.
Motion by Fong, second by Anderson. Discussion?
So my only question is this dividend fee that is before us right now, that is not an increase in the utility rates, correct?
It will be passed on to the ratepayers to increase the amount of dividend that the city receives. It is not a rate that the utilities has put forward. It is a proposal from the city now that we have pulled that number out. And it is simply just to address the shortfall in cash for municipal funding that we need. It does not have to happen. It is just a proposal to try to address our cash balance dropping over the years. As we've talked about, we have to find other revenue. This is a potential revenue source. That's all this is. That's why it hasn't come forward sooner, because we didn't have a final fee schedule for you all to consider, and we had not made a final decision whether we were even going to propose this or if we were just going to stay the course with the 3.8 million.
With the cuts we just made and the adjustments we made, will there be a change on the dividend or?
No, this is what's proposed.
Yeah, what amount are the dividends in?
The dividend is $500,000 increase.
No, I mean percentage.
I don't know. It's in the fee schedule. I think I might have it here. It varies by the utility. It's lost in my shuffle here somewhere. Oh, here we go. I got it. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Actually, it might not be on this. 354. Yeah, I was going to say, I have to go to the actual budget. 354. Okay, so the percentages are for electric dividend is 6.6454%, gas is 7.5781%, and water is 8.9072%. That total, if approved, would equal the 4.3 million.
Those are the new percentage amounts.
The new
Yes.
percentages are in the fee schedule. We have the old percentages as well. I think Roger has those available if you want to go with leaving the dividend fee at the 3.8 million.
So the purpose of raising it from 3.8 to 4.3 is, can you make it clear what that purpose is to?
We are running out of cash and we'll be down to very little cash in 2030. This is a way to try to address that cash. That's all it is.
By charging this extra amount to the people who pay for utilities, correct?
Correct.
And the restaurant tax, it looks like that's,
Just to kind of bring that back up, that is the other item that we are bringing forward to council probably in October. for consideration to, again, try to address the cash issue that we have. So I put them together because those are the two proposals that staff has come up with to try to address our cash shortfall, to try to keep our cash whole longer.
So I just want to be clear here. So if I'm not in favor of necessarily the dividend fee, but I am in favor of the restaurant tax, are we doing two different votes on this?
No, we are just talking about the fee schedule, which has the dividend in it. We can amend that to not use the percentages that are in there. The restaurant tax is just an illustration of our strategy and thought process on how we can address our shortfall.
Okay, so the restaurant tax isn't necessarily.
Nothing we're talking about.
All right, thank
Yeah,
you.
just so you had that information to keep it in the public eye.
Jeff, a few years ago, I was told the water park fees went up, and did the attendance go down when those fees went up?
No, that's not accurate. I mean, the admission fees did go up as our minimum wage increases, but our attendance has not gone down.
Okay.
Can you remind me the last time we raised rates on the water park?
The admission rates were raised last year. That's the daily admission. Season passes have been about maybe 4 years.
We're not raising the daily amount then?
No, just the season passes.
Any further questions?
So the thing that we're voting on is simply for the fee schedule additions that are in the council packet. We're not doing dividend fee or restaurant tax, correct?
Dividend fee is in the fee resolution,
Okay.
so you would have to amend the proposal
Okay.
if you wish to not leave that in. And I think we can just amend it to the pre-increase amounts. I don't know that we actually do. I think I misspoke. I don't think we actually have all the percentages, but we can get those out to council if that's where you choose to go. You could table it till the next meeting, yes. Right, and this, again, the dividend doesn't impact the utilities budget. It's not included in our budget, so it's not anything other than for something for you to consider. And the fee schedule, we have time if we need to pull back on that.
It is a line item in the general fund budget as a revenue. So if that number changes, would just affect whether you would come in under budget on that revenue line item, unless we can get that change incorporated into the budget in time.
So is there a utility rate increase, I mean, by ordinance coming up soon, October, November, somewhere in there?
Yes, there is a rate, and Derek can get into that. These ordinances were approved by previous councils. There is no new rate increase that is being proposed in this budget cycle, but there are rate increases that have been planned out over time.
All right, so I think until we can, I'm thinking that we should table this dividend fee thing for now till you have the appropriate information for us to vote on that, so we're all on the same page and can understand exactly what that is. So I'll make a motion to table.
Well, do we need a clarification, I guess, just clarification from my mind? So you're just, is council saying by this that they want to lower the dividend, to not have an increase in the dividend, essentially? Is that why
Well, that's what I would like to see, is I don't want to see an increase in the dividend.
So I think we could motion just to say exactly that.
Okay.
And then we can deal with the percentages to make it correct.
Okay, so what's the appropriate motion then, Jesse?
Motion, hold on. Yep, it would.
Yep.
So it'd be motion to amend resolution 2025-27 to reduce the dividend fee to the previous fiscal year's amount. And you can
Okay.
say motion that.
I will make that motion.
Second. And it's stated correctly, so we're okay for the record? Okay. Motion by Brad Consbrook, second by Larry Consbrook. Are there any further questions on this or clarification on the dividend fee?
And the item on the table, it has nothing to do with restaurant tax yet.
Yep, all you're voting on right now is whether you want the dividend as just a part of the fee resolution, which is to reduce the dividend fee back to where it was for the last fiscal year, to not increase it to $500,000.
Are we clear on what we're voting on? Okay, let's vote. The amended resolution passes 8-0.
So now we have to vote on the fee schedule.
Or if there's any other amendments council would like
Correct.
to make, now's the time to amend the fee schedule.
So now we'll go back and vote on the fee schedule, which is already on the table.
Yes.
Okay? Are there any questions on that? Please vote. This passes 8-0. Is there any other business that we have? I'd like to thank everybody for hanging in there with us, and I will adjourn this meeting at, looks like 8:50.